I think we're live. Hopefully we're live. Let me just check.
Yeah.
Yep.
No. Wait. Yeah.
Yeah, I can hear myself. I can hear myself. I don't want to hear myself. Turn it off. Right, so we are joined currently by Arwin and Arwin only up till now. There are a few more people that have the link. Just waiting for these guys to hopefully jump on. We should be expecting Jeren at some point. Nathan's in the chat. I know he's slinking around there. He should be joining. Riley too. I think Adam's joining. There's a few others people joining as well. So should be all good. Right, I'm going to say a few hellos to some people in. Room was first. Very funny, $330. Yeah, well, it's $350. £350 actually, because Nathan put £20 in just now. Thank you very much, Nathan. So we got Runin, Nathan. Who else do we have in? Arwin, obviously, or in Bruno, hello. Daylo, Ohio, and Sean Thornhill, along with the silent majority who just came in to have a listen.
I just shared the show in the Skype chat.
Well, let's hope some people join in and listen to the chat that we've got ready. So, we were talking about your show for a start first, Nathan, are we? So what's your plans going forward with that? Because you were just starting to talk about it just then.
Right. Well, I don't really have any transformative plans, and I should have kind of, but at the moment I'm just working on a format on the way that I speak. I'm really trying to get the it's kind of like a radio talk mode. I'm really trying to work on that just by practicing, just by going and listening back and hearing like, oh god, this is way too monotonous, or I'm like in too much doubt about something that's very annoying, or too long a pause. And yeah, and I got to get rid of it. Also, and this is in general, even during the debates, I need to somehow make sure that there's just not long enough a pause in between my words, which I do have the tendency to do sometimes. And I have to be very fluid as I talk. And that's kind of difficult for me also because, well, English is not my first language. So I'm not that good, but I hope to become that good eventually. So mostly early bird show, I'm just working on myself and trying to get a solid rollout of it all, and hope to eventually, like you're doing right now, get a GoFundMe together for my P900, because doing it through the super chat, which was originally my plan, is completely broken. Back to square zero with that, fortunately.
We're joined by Nathan. Hello, Nathan.
Hello, how are you doing?
Doing good, thank you very much. Doing really good, actually. The weather's out. It's absolutely gorgeous out today. I mean, I did get a bit of a sunburn, I have to say. But
Are you sure it's not a chemtrail burn?
Well, funnily enough, they were spraying bugs today, and it was just like you were doing. You know, when you filmed yesterday and they had the squares,
Mm-hmm.
you know, it was just like that.
Yep. Today, we're here too today. Again, they've been spraying day and evening very, very thickly for 3 days now. It's very annoying, and I can literally feel it on my skin if I stay out. Starts to just get a little bit more agitated, even if I don't pay attention to it.
We've just had a massive £60 donation by Sean, who's in the chat right now, who says that his donation hasn't showed up. Well, I can assure him it certainly has. Thank you very, very much. Wow, I mean, I do appreciate that. It's sincerely from the bottom of my heart. I think we're about a quarter of the way there now, right now.
Nice.
We're more than a quarter of the way there.
By the way, Ranty, you could technically present the donation page with your screen to basically show it live.
Okay, let's see if I can sort that out. Let's see. New window. I would have thought, yeah. So, Nathan, thanks very much for the £20. If you're still there. Hello. Oh, he's gone. He's slinked off. Little bugger.
He's still in the panel, but
Oh, is he?
he's probably away from. Oh no, he left.
He'll be back.
Oh, he's back.
What's it? You having technical issues, Nate?
Yeah, it just wouldn't let me. It just didn't want me on the iPad for some reason. But to be perfectly honest, I wanted to cheerlead for people to actually contribute to the GoFundMe more than be on the show. Last RantyAthon, what I did, and it was quite hard work, I'm not going to lie, was actually sit in the chat and say to people, "Hooray! Thanks for sticking something in the super chat." Del West Watson for this show. I'm sure Ranty's really appreciative of your super chat, but definitely stick it in the GoFundMe rather than the super chat just for this one.
That's very good advice, actually. Yeah, because I've got so much I want to do with this drone, and the trolls have already started. I have to say, it's like I put just a notification out this morning, letting people know that I would be going live about this, and of course the trolls descended. Why do you want a drone? And I'm like, guys, I'm asking for a drone because I'll be able to use this drone for the next few years. It's not going to be like a one-off. And people like, I mean, I'm not going to name, well, I might as well name names. Like, look at Sly Sparkania, who did his fundraiser for this water level test. And he was asking for perhaps twice as much as what I'm asking for just the equipment to set this thing up. That was an absolute failure. But the Flat Earthers supported him. You know, we were encouraging him, giving him advice, tips, how to do it, things like that. He didn't take all our stuff on board, but we weren't actually trolling him. And it makes you wonder why, when you put in a fund out to actually, a campaign like this to try and get a drone so that I can do some additional research this year with the P1000 that I was very grateful for everybody donating to last year. But that coupled with a drone, the amount of stuff that I could get through this year, just be unbelievable. You know, all the things I've got planned for up in Scotland and the tests that I can do down at the beach here, it's just, you know, it's just really, it seems like it's a no-brainer really in comparison if you do like for like globe versus the flat. And you know, I mean, I'll be putting this drone to test to work from the minute I get it for sure.
So, and a big shout out to I hope I've spelled your name right, Sean W. Thornhill, for smashing the GoFundMe link. So you're already ahead. I've put the wrong total in that. I'll have to change that. 350. What's the total at now? Let's have a look. Drum roll. £410 raised. Excellent.
Yeah. I can't believe it. I mean, well, I can believe it because last year, the community supported me for the P1000, and I think I haven't let them down too much with the stuff that I've done for that. If you listen to most Flat Earth debate things that are going on now, not just on yours, but on different channels, the Globers will be put in a position where they'll be asking a question to a Flat Earther, and the Flat Earth will be coming out with, well, you've got the compression issues, you've got the inferior mirage, you've got the swell, you've got the way, and I'm like, guys, yeah, this is just what I want to hear. You know, guys are actually paying attention and they're understanding this, and the Globers have got no argument, got no comeback for it because it's all optical, and we're breaking through that. So it's just really cool. Right, Sean, yes, thank you. Oh, Del West Watson, thank you very much for smashing the super chat. Do appreciate it. But as Nathan said, if you would actually,
He already has. So I already have with the super. Thank you very much for your generosity. Can you stick some of your footage up, Ranty?
Some of my footage. Oh, I've actually got something from today, actually.
Excellent.
Well, yeah. Hang on, just give me a second to get things organised with this, because I've got to be careful with this watch page. You know what these Globers are like. If they see me mess up in any way, they'll try and steal the link, which I don't want them to do. So let me get the video up. That was from today. So I go. Ooh, that was the one. Yeah, this is all about perspective, really. So let me just get this video going.
I've just got to get an audience together first. I've already shared this on Facebook and Twitter. No, I didn't actually. I shared the donation that I generously gave you.
I know you did. So you do that.
So I'm going to share this show. So we need to drum up an audience first. So if you are in the live chat, come on, share the show immediately on Facebook and Twitter. At the very least, if you're not going to contribute to the GoFundMe, you can share the show, even if you don't normally. Stick it on Facebook. the tag live now because we are live.
We are live. I'm just gonna. All I'm gonna show you guys, right, is this boat on the water, and the idea, the impression is obviously that the front of the boat, you'd imagine, is probably close to maybe 6 feet out of the water. You would say, just by looking at this gentleman in the background, he's slightly bent over at the minute, but when he's stood up, I'm guessing about 6 feet. And I just want you to look at the amount of spray that's being splashed up on this boat, how high it goes, you know, how much of it's being hidden by this spray, is it, you know, and it's not even really moving, it's just jogging around out there. And look at this, and this is the swell that's chucking this boat around out there. So this is out to sea. This is only around, this boat itself is only around about 2 miles away from my observation point. So there's no real flat earth proofs here, as you know, curve calcs comparing, etc. But as I'm just going to scroll through the video, I'm just going to show you what the water's like at the water's edge from where I was filming. And this is to give you the idea of when we're filming from the shoreline and we're looking out towards the ocean, we have no idea what the swell and the waves are like on those boats out there and how much of a swell it actually is. I mean, this water's just trickling up, you know, it's barely a ripple at the shoreline. But you go out to sea, I think here's me with a tape measure, measuring my height above the water. So it's literally, you know, this is what it's like against the shoreline. So if you're saying, okay, I'm 3 feet above sea level or 2 feet above sea level, you know, and you're not actually taking this into account, what the roughness of the seas are like out there. It plays into the glober's hands, really, because that isn't a true representation of what's actually going on out there. You know, these boats, this swell, you know, it's crazy. So anyway, that was from.
Can you try something before you reduce the screen? If you try presenting to everyone, can I just see if it makes it full screen for the audience, just so we have your images a bit bigger? If you just try present to everyone and see if that actually makes it full screen.
I did present to everyone, didn't
I? Well, it's not full screen. In that case, go to the settings on the side of the Hangout.
Oh, that's right. I didn't click myself. That's why, isn't it? Yeah.
No, I don't think it's that. I think it'll always have the boxes along the bottom unless you tell it not to in the Hangout settings. So on the bottom of the, I'm only saying this because it's nicer when your pictures are full screen rather than our boxes.
Okay.
So on the, I think it's the bottom tab as you move over the Hangout.
Yeah.
There's a thing that says something like, it gives you 3 options.
Oh, Nathan, it said, yeah, Del West Watson says it was full screen. So
what I mean is it's not. You get the boxes though. Even when you're full screen, you can still see me and Arwin and you in boxes. So it's not quite full screen.
Oh right, okay, I see what you're saying.
It's one of the options. It's make the tabs invisible or something in one of those 3 options on the side of the Hangout. Bottom box, I think it is.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Right, let me get this video up from today. That was a couple of days ago, that video. Let me get this video up today because I was just showing this to Owen before actually. Hang on, let me just pause that. And then present to everyone.
So while Ranty's doing that, I'll go and check on your GoFundMe campaign. Got anybody donate in the meantime? You have! Big shout out to Adam Meakin of the Iron Realm Media team. Smashing that GoFundMe link. Brings the total at £430. Woo, 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 woo.
Thank you very much, Adam. Thank you very much. You know I'm going to use this drone well for sure. So here we are. I'm filming this boat off the seawall, so I'm really high up actually. I mean, I'm probably at least 45, 50 feet above the water, and this boat is only about 2.5 miles out. It's not very far at all. But again, it's the same sort of conditions as today at the shoreline. You know, there was barely any waves. But watch this boat. Just watch this. This boat was being tossed around like nobody's business out there. And, you know, you can imagine if you're out there, these waves, the closer you get down, you know, so if you go down to the shoreline and you try and look out to this boat, these these waves and the swell is going to cause blockage simply by the movement of the ocean. And you can see how much this boat's being buffeted around today.
Messed up the shout out for Adam. I put woot woot, massive shout out to Adam Mekong. Whatever it was, go for me. Put a little starred correction. There you go.
Mekong. But again, you know, these waves are tiny, really. You know, in a minute you'll see a seagull, and the waves are like a third of the height of the seagull at the seashore. And yeah, it's just this perspective thing. It's killing these Globers. They hate it.
Right, let's see how your live stream's going. Did everybody in the stream share this live stream? I bet they didn't. 60 watching. Okay, so if you're in the live chat now, whether or not you've contributed to the GoFundMe, at the very least, you can share the show and generate a bigger audience to e-beg to. So we can
I hate that word, e-begging. I really hate that word, Nathan, because essentially it's not.
What, not begging?
Well, no, it's literally a campaign. It's a campaign to forward the evolution of the flat Earth research.
You call it begging? That's outrageous. E-begging. E-begging.
Ah, man, I hate that word. I think if you use that word, I'm going to kick you now.
Don't be ashamed.
Right. So this is one of the reasons I want a drone is for. Right, this boat isn't going to have a GPS tracker on it, right? There's no way we are ever going to be able to identify this boat. And I have hundreds of videos of small boats in this location, some anywhere from 1 mile out to perhaps 4.5, 5 miles out, right? If I have a drone that I can go and fly out to the boat in question that I'm filming, I can get the GPS location for that boat. So I can film it from above, know its GPS location, be able to get a distance to the boat whilst filming it with a P1000 from the shoreline, and be able to test it on different days, on days with with a bigger swell, on days where you've got bigger swell and wind, so obviously the waves are going to be higher, and then on days when obviously there's little swell and obviously little waves, which we do get. You know, I've had probably a dozen of those last year, those particular days. So we will get them, but getting all this information together, I should be able to, at the end of the year, be able to put some kind of database out and say, okay, well, in sort of conditions where the swell was 0.5 meter and the wind was at 10 miles an hour. Why are you laughing at, Win?
Sorry, it just now I'm acting like you for a change, and I was going to ask, are you talking about the sea or your hormonal cycle? Sorry, just never mind.
Okay. So yeah, let's get this database going. Let's be able.
You got a new guest. Say hello to Jaron.
Jaron? Oh,
what's up, guys?
Nice to see you.
Hey.
How's everybody?
Hey, it's great. Thank you very much for joining.
Yeah, no problem. Awesome to see this. And I did share it last night on Raw, so hopefully we get some people from that. And then I did share on Twitter, and I'll share on Facebook here in a second. So happy to be here.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
He's a good guy, unlike all your audience who didn't share it. Miserable buggers.
I shared it. I started sharing it on Skype.
I shared it on my Facebook too. So
I
don't even go to Facebook very often, but I'll head over there right now and share it. And I think Owen Benjamin said it best when he said, support what you like or it goes away. And I like your observations, and so you got to support it. I want to see some drone stuff.
Yeah, me too. Well, the drone stuff will be cool, not just for the cool images that I'll be able to get when I go to different locations, but also to do these, what I'm talking about now, which is to try and get a database together that's going to include distances to boats compared with the sea swell, compared with the wave height. And I should be able to, if I'm very lucky at the end of the year, get some kind of database together to say that in a sea state of, say, 2, boats that are this height will disappear just purely behind waves or sea swell at 3 miles. just because of that. You know, I mean, I'm speculating that's what's going to happen. But obviously, if I had a drone, I'd be able to complete that research.
Awesome. I'm hoping that you can get up about 1,500 feet and take a still image of the horizon and then take it into Photoshop and condense it down as small as possible and show the curvature of Earth.
Sounds familiar.
That's what I'm looking forward to.
A red rhetoric.
Yeah.
This is a unique way to see the curvature of the Earth.
Very unique.
How high does the drone actually go?
500 meters. So we'll get 1,500 feet. I mean, to be fair, that looks pretty flat. that horizon looks pretty flat. And
so you're talking well over a quarter of a mile up then?
Oh yeah. I mean, Blackpool Tower will be a piece of cake, you know. And you know, when I go over to Heysham and stuff like this, or I go up to Barrow-in-Furness, I can do so, because it's got such a long range on this. I mean, it goes like 7 kilometers. No, 8 kilometers. It goes 8 kilometers out. Literally, you still have control of it at 8 kilometers away. It's just a fantastic piece of kit.
So you can go quarter of a mile up and almost 5 miles away. Wow.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's what I mean. And because of the coastline where I am, I can literally go down to the coastline with a P900, strap a light or a laser, an infrared laser to the drone, send the drone off 4 or 5 miles away, have it land or hover a couple of feet above the water at any given distance, you know, at any given place along the water's edge. And I wonder if I can get up.
This drone sounds absolutely incredible. If only there was some way the audience could help contribute towards such a thing.
I wonder. Oh, there could be. I am actually doing. This is a RantyAthon. Let me put the link out.
RantyAthon.
RantyAthon. I love it. It's ace. You thought of that name, didn't you? If I remember right.
But for Ranty.
There we go. I'm going to stick that link in there. So if you guys want to help out and get this support on the road. Oh, Adam, nice to see you in. Thanks for joining as well. You stayed silent in the background there, didn't you?
I did, because I was about to join before Jaron, but I was too busy giggling at Arwin bottling it on a knob bag. I giggled as well, Arwin, at East Swell. So
right.
I got you.
Swell and the waves and
yeah.
Flushes and it all sounds very hormonal.
But I thought he was absolutely amazing as well, Nathan, which is why I thought, well, I shall put my hand in my pocket, and if I know it's going to be well spent, it'll be well spent by Ranty. And
hey guys, well, I didn't let you down with the P900, did I? That's where the P1000. You know,
can I do some shout outs to the people that have already contributed? So shout out to Bruce Lacey for smashing the GoFundMe link. Also, a massive shout out to Colin Turner for doing the same. Dodie McManaman is smashing the super chat. Thank you very much indeed for supporting Ranty's GoFundMe. Michael Seklavosky, thank you very much indeed. Massive contribution from him. Really appreciate it. I'm sure that will go a long way to getting Ranty that drone. Paul Keeling, thank you very much again for smashing the GoFundMe link. Sharag Patel also smashed that link before the show started, so thank you very much indeed to Sharag. Derek Watson, thank you very much indeed. Jaron of Jeranism, who's on the show right now, thank you very much. Anonymous, you know who you are. Thank you very much for supporting the campaign. Adam Mekong.
freaking heard that.
And last but not least, Sean W. Thornhill. So those are all the people who've contributed to the GoFundMe so far. Thank you. You guys are all ace. Everybody else is rubbish.
David Travat donated, and we have an anonymous donor as well. So we have 2 more to add to that. 2 more. And I actually had one earlier on from Airy A, who actually didn't contribute anything, but he left me a very nice message. Would you like me to tell you what the message said?
But before you do, there's also David Travat. I hope I've said your name correctly. Again, massive shout out to David for smashing the GoFundMe link while we've been streaming. So
get his name right, Nathan. Why don't you?
Oh, well, no, I'm sorry. What can I say, Adam?
That is funny, mate. Honestly, I was saying in the FE core chat, they keep getting my name wrong in there as well. So it's quite a common thing. I've not heard Mekon. It's a little bit American Vietnamese sounding. That one is. I've had
iPad Auto smell.
No, but don't you get it? It's the Adam Mekon. That's like the special convention for everything Adam Mekon.
the Mekon. Yeah.
Adam Mekon.
I get Mekon from Dandere. I've had. My favourite is Adam Reekin. I've actually had a letter. RAA. Reekin.
Reekin. That's it.
Yeah. So I'm used to it. No, that was a new one though, the Mekong. I quite like that one though. It's got a ring to it.
No racist jokes.
I've not thought of it yet, but give me a minute.
But yeah, you mentioned the anonymous one as well. So again, another anonymous donor. So total's now 460. Woo, 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 woo.
Do you want to read what the anonymous one put? Well, sorry, the one that Airy A, who didn't actually leave a donation in.
Oh.
There's get a job, loser. I'm pretty sure Ranty has got a job. You know, I'm sure he can pay his bills, but in this instance, this is purely for YouTube benefits, and you know, there isn't a massive amount of money to be made from YouTube. So, in order to get Ranty to give us better footage, unfortunately, we've got to put our hands in their own pockets. That's just the way it is. Don't have to like it. Don't have to contribute.
Well, that's the thing, you know. I mean, at the end of the day, I've essentially done this research for, you know, for the enjoyment of others, really, you know. And I think everyone's happy with it. I know you're happy with it, Nathan. Jaren likes it. Adam likes it. So it's all good. We're getting there.
Yeah, it's a bit like when I say, if everybody does a little, I don't have to do anything. Well, if everyone spends a little, it doesn't cost Ranty anything. Happy days! But other than lots of hard work, sweat, graft, time, which is ultimately money. So that's not quite the case, as much as I jest.
You've got to charge them batteries for the drone. That's not free.
Pennies add up.
Have you heard of a channel called Peter Van Leeuwen? Something like that?
What?
No, probably not. He released a video recently. I might show it you guys, actually. Give me a sec to get it up, and I want you to tell me what you think about this.
Nathan, that was good. Was that this morning that you did the brick example with Apollo? Or was that
Yeah,
yesterday?
after the show, I got so much praise, and I was like, I thought that up on the fly. But yeah, I'll take the praise from John after the show, and hopefully, I'm presuming you're going to do the same.
Yeah, no. In fact, I'll probably do a short little video and try and do, you know, I know my animations are shit, but do the best I can to kind of show a brick, have it going off into the distance, have it disappearing, and then adding some bricks on top. I thought it was great, especially after having to listen to Brenda on the early part of the show.
Oh, she's so
Brandon was so annoying
All
today.
credit really goes to Life is Short. I know you interviewed also.
Right.
He gave the example with the hair, and I then parroted that example, and then literally on the fly today thought, how can I scale that up a little bit so that rather than a hair disappearing, and it doesn't really mean anything when you put anything on top of it. So what, a hair's gone, but a brick, that's just that little bit bigger and scalable, and you can perceive it. So I'm like, yeah, brick, that'll do. Next thing you know, I'm being praised from all sides, and it's like, great, okay, thank you. Wonderful. Hope it makes it a bit clearer to people that once something disappears into the diffraction limit, it's gone. That's it. But
Right.
bigger stuff can be on top of it, and you can still see it.
It was kind of a perfect way to end the show too, because you had Apollo kind of tripping over his words and couldn't really explain it. And then you just said, "Oh, no, let's round it out."
It's a shame. Apollo's a really nice guy, and you know,
Right.
I needed
like
somebody who had a bit of optical experience with telescopes, because now you can start talking in the realms of, you know, arc seconds and angular size, which is what those guys deal in. So I knew I'd get some concessions out of him. I just wish it wasn't him, because he's so nice. But on the other hand, after the fact, I was like, you do realize I'm going to be snipping this out, and John was quick to say, yeah, so will other people, and you've just confirmed that. So, you know, it's like, unfortunately, it's going to be you that's held up as the glober, looking through his telescope, talking about the world being a sphere, and ultimately debunking boats going over the horizon once and for all. That's a shame, but oh well, happy days. Perspective is Earth curve.
Oh wow, we've had another donation. Another one. Jerry.
Good. I just shared on Facebook. So I've shared on Facebook. I've shared on Twitter. I donated. I feel like I've done my part for the day.
Definitely feel you've done your part. Big shout out to Sharon.
Massive shout out to everybody that's actually donated, even if you can only donate £1.
What was the most latest one, Ranty?
The most late, sorry?
You said somebody else had donated. Yeah, they have. Jerry Merciel? Butchering these names. Thank you, Jerry. Really appreciated. 480 so far. Woo, 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 woo.
Yeah.
Whoop, whoop.
One of my subscribers sent me this video. He took this video. It's down your way, actually. It's down south. I think he's looking at the Isle of Wight. And just watch this boat. And I don't think you've seen this video yet, Nathan. Tell me what you think. Can you see how the trouble it's having trying to get out of that rough water there? And then look at the calmer water in it. This video is awesome, by the way. I have to say, this video is absolutely awesome. Look at the calm water on the lower half of the image. And look at the turbulent water further out. Back in a riptide.
Mm-hmm.
And it's showing the difference between the two. I couldn't, I've tried to explain what it's like the further out you go, but this is literally just like looking at it right now. It's such a cool video. He's going to pan around in a minute and you'll get a really good view of this.
That's weird. It's literally like almost like there's a new zone after a certain distance.
Like,
water completely changes.
There's a line.
Yeah.
I'll show
But
you.
it's not really there, though. It's more likely that there's just a lot of space in between just concealed because of the limited viewing angle.
Well, I think it's because there's a rock and the water's going around the rock. So part of this massive rock is obviously protecting and giving the shallow, well, the calm stuff. And then where you've got the tide, well, the massive push, the bottleneck, it looks like that's the bottleneck up there with all the turbulent water. And this is like, when I was explaining about how tidal bores happen and you go in, when you get, there we go. Can you see that rock there? See the rock formation here? Let's go back a bit. It's panning across. So we've got seawall, and we'll come to a gap in a moment. There we go. We've got a gap. Rocks. Here we go. More water, and then a rock. So it's like it's being funneled, isn't it? It's creating these funnels, like bottlenecks, and this is what happens in those areas. The water gets all bumped up and giving vertical lift on the water. So if you were trying to see somebody on the far shoreline, you wouldn't be able to see them simply because of this effect.
Yep.
Really cool.
Is that published?
It's an unlisted video.
Is one of yours?
No, it's a subscriber of mine got in touch and said that, because I've been talking to him on Skype, and I'm talking to so many different people on Skype and helping them with the P1000 stuff. I had a guy get in touch with me last night, thought it's in the Isle of Man. It wasn't actually the Isle of Man because I had to triangulate it. I figured it all out. It was a different place. And then this guy obviously sent me the video, the link to the video, because he just thought it was a very cool visual of what I was trying to explain, what happens with these riptides and all the different effects that's happening out in the ocean. So he took the video and he's just left it up unlisted.
Have you got that to hand? Because I get what it is. Obviously, you've shown me a couple of times that I don't know where you got it from, but you had like a Muppet Vision representation with the tides going out, and then you showed the elevated water at the various different points. Have you got that like that cartoon? Do you know which one I mean?
I'll have to have a look for it. I just want to show you this first, though, because
yeah, no worries. Sorry.
This is like, I did this crap weather data stuff, right? Because I went out, I filmed it. It was just a really crap day, and basically this guy's said he doesn't actually think it's a crap observation. He actually thinks it's perfect globe earth proof. And what he's going to do is he's going to look at Blackpool Tower and the Norbreck Castle, because both are visible in the shot. So here's the shot. So obviously over in the distance here, we've got Blackpool Tower and we've got the Norbreck Castle. Now, the distance to the Norbreck Castle from my location is about a mile away to this point, roughly about a mile. And to Blackpool Tower, it's about 3.5 miles, right? So even if we use Earth Curve Calculator and we say, what's the difference between my observation and this one here at a mile and this one at 3.5 miles, we're talking Blackpool Tower, if we believe in the curve, should have dropped by about 6 feet, roughly, in relation to the Norbreck Castle, right? And this guy, my mind is blown because I don't think he understands things get smaller with distance. He actually believes that this is proof of the curvature of the Earth. But by the fact that we're seeing Blackpool Tower, I mean, he goes into great detail. Look, Norbreck Castle, with this line going across, is higher than Blackpool Tower in the distance.
Well, this used to be a legit argument until we appreciated that the only assertion they can make is Earth curve. So the only reason it's dropped is because it's dropping around the curve of the Earth. They can't claim that it's getting smaller with distance. It's always the same. There you go. It's got 37 meters higher. Oh, right. Well, that's useful as that value doesn't change with distance, which is precisely what you're pointing out. The angular size is reduced. Well, the way they negate that is give it you in meters or feet, and then that value doesn't change with distance. And they can say the geometric drop of the Earth is why it's smaller in this frame, even though it's blatantly bloody obvious. It's just perspective.
What he's trying to do here, though, he's trying to say that there's some kind of like 6 feet different. You know, well, there is literally only 6 feet difference if you believe on the curvature of the Earth. And I don't even think that's correct. I think the Norbreck is actually far higher. The land is situated far higher up than the actual tower. I might check that in a minute. But in any case, he actually thinks that because Blackpool Tower appears smaller than the Norbreck Castle, this is proof of the curvature. I mean, literally, this guy is insane. Did I make a mistake somewhere? Yes, you did. It might be off by a few meters. Well, technically, you're only trying to find 2 meters. I mean, this is the stuff that we have to put up with, Nathan, you know? How many times have we gone on about this? Perspective, it rules.
Yeah, not in Muppet Vision, it don't. Feet and inches don't change with distance. That's how they've conned us. Bastards.
Got another observation.
Just go back to that picture a sec, Randy. I was struggling to follow with the critique, but if you look at that logic, then that house that's in the foreground is half as high as Blackpool Tower.
Yeah, well, the crane.
No, but it's just not as far over the curvature as that other thing.
Well, hang on. This buoy, this life buoy on the right is the same height as Blackpool Tower. Jared, you can't make this up. I mean, obviously the guy's gone to a bit of work putting this video together, and he obviously thinks he's onto something. And I just wonder, are they just intentionally this way out? Is this how it is with them, that they just can't understand things getting smaller with distance?
Nope, they'll tell you things don't get smaller with distance.
I mean, he's thinking that Blackpool Tower should be up here somewhere.
Yeah, they will. You'll say things get smaller with distance, and they'll say, so
Well,
a 10-foot wall's not 10-foot wall anymore.
Right. Same people who ask you why you can't see Spain from the east coast of the United States, paying no attention to the fact that anything would be too tiny to see, 500 miles out, let alone 1,000, let alone 2,500 miles, or whatever Spain is from the east coast.
Well, that technically would depend on the size of the telescope you would be using for that and the height of it. If it's clear enough,
see through the atmosphere that sits above 2,500 miles of ocean.
Exactly, it does have to be clear enough. So it's got to be rare.
not rare, but impossible.
Uh,
I mean, you're not going to see through the atmosphere 500 miles out. Just not going to see it. I mean, the only reason we can see those mountains like Canigou and those at 175 miles is when the sun gets behind them and causes a silhouette.
okay. So
Otherwise,
how
the
about infrared vision? Would that be able to penetrate the lack of air clarity?
Maybe, yeah. If you want to talk about, okay, so now we can see 175 miles. Okay, so with infrared, maybe you can see 250. So you're never going to see 500. You're never going to see 1,000. So you're certainly never going to see 2,000 or 3,000, which is what it would take to see across the Atlantic Ocean. You know, same thing seeing Hawaii from California. I mean, it's just not possible. Number one, because you're not going to see through that amount of atmosphere, and of course, the dirtiest air, the muckiest air, is what's right above the ocean. And then second, Hawaii is going to be too small. It progressively gets smaller and smaller the further it moves away. So it's literally impossible to see that far with our eyes or any optical equipment, unless you're a heliocentrist, and then you believe that we can see, trillions of miles just by tilting your telescope up a little.
But how about the other way around? Would it technically be possible at some point if you have the big enough lens and everything, and infrared, that you could potentially from Hawaii see just the remnants of mountains on the west coast of America?
No, I don't think ever. No, not even close.
How far is that in between,
I
roughly?
think it's 2,500. Maybe I'm off on that. No, I think California to Hawaii is about 2,500 miles. Yeah.
Okay.
So I mean, you're just not going to see that, because think of all that atmosphere just accumulating. It's the same thing where if you put a sheet of glass in front of somebody, you can easily see through it. It doesn't affect your viewing quality. And if you put 10 sheets of glass, it's not going to affect it. And you put 100 sheets of glass, and it's going to start to affect it a little. It's the same thing with the air. Just think of the air as sheets of glass. The more you compound those together, the more impossible it is to see through them. So, we can see things 50 miles out, 100 miles out. With infrared, we're going to see further, 100, 200 miles out. After that, there's just nothing that can cut through that amount of atmosphere. Just think about how hard it is to see 20 miles away because of the atmospheric buildup. It's just, even though air is invisible, everyone wants to say that the atmosphere is invisible, air is invisible. It is, to the extent that we're trying to see things 5 miles away, 3 miles away. But as you start to compound that, it's just going to reduce probably by the square of the distance. To be honest, it's probably the same thing. It's probably the same equation.
But then how could they have ever photographed the Earth from the moon?
Good old vacuum.
But supposedly now there isn't a real vacuum in between, right?
Right. No, there's atmosphere there too.
So how did they actually photograph it with all that, even though thin, atmosphere that will pile up over the distance? And how much distance is it supposedly between the moon and the Earth?
237 if you go by Kubrick's movie, Room 237. That's 237 miles
between the outside edges. So from the outside edge of the claimed sphere Earth to the outside edge of the sphere Moon.
Have you seen these series of images, Joan, before?
Walk me through them. I've seen most of the stuff, but maybe sometimes I missed your specific point. So,
well, this was the boat that I filmed. Boat disappears, no curve. It's optical, flat Earth. It's the one that conspiracy cats and all the others use for proof of going over the curve. So they'll say Ranty showed a boat going over the curve. Well, this is the actual some stills from that particular observation, and obviously I've put it in that it's optical. They say it's going over the curvature of the Earth. But one thing you do notice straight away is this inferior mirage right here. You can actually start to see it here. You can actually see this inferior mirage absolutely crystal clear, even on the wind turbine in the background.
Mm-hmm.
Can you see the white at the bottom here? Is the white at the top there? And it's an absolute you can see that this is the mirror layer right
Absolutely.
here.
Yep.
And basically, this is a great image here as well, proving the same point. So this boat's going further away from me, so it's getting smaller by the fact that of perspective. So it's actually shrinking. Not only is it going further away, so it's shrinking, and because it's shrinking, so it's getting less tall. That means that the top of the boat is getting closer to this angle here, which is giving the impression that it might be going over the curvature of the Earth, when clearly it's not. It's just getting smaller. It's getting nearer to this inferior mirage, and it's being miraged back down on itself. You can't see the bottom of the boat because it's behind the inferior mirage.
If that was on a curve and the boat was on the other side of the curve, how would we be seeing a reflection on this side of the hump?
Well, I've got
the other side of the hump.
I've got a really good thing. You was going on about the air clarity just a minute ago, and this is the last still that I've taken on this particular image. And basically, you can't see the boat. It's there somewhere, but you can't see it. And what I do is, on the next image, I enhance it, and you can still make out the boat with the inferior mirage. You know, there's the mast of it. There's the top of the boat. There's the inferior mirage reflection. So you can still see it, but there's like I was trying to say, you can't, you know, can you see forever? Well, no, you can't really see forever. But this one last thing I want to show you is this angle boat, because this is golden. I don't know if you've ever seen this before, Jaren.
Yeah, this isn't the one we did on my show with you.
Could be.
Maybe.
You know what the point was here, though. It was
because you have both. You have two different spots.
Yes, two boats. Boat in the background. These two are parts of the same boat, and this boat in the foreground is a smaller boat. The inferior mirage is here on this boat in relation on the image, but much higher up on the boat in the background. And that's just proving beyond the shadow of a doubt that it can't be Earth curve that's creating this inferior mirage. You can't be having inferior, you can't have two humps. You know, this can't be Earth curve here, and then you've got Earth curve up here as well. It has to be on an angle, or limited viewing angle. Arwen's optical slant.
Did you see Hermes' version of that? Sorry to interrupt, Jaren.
No, go ahead. I was just saying it's 2 years old at this point that Arwen was talking about that slant.
Yeah, and what's more important, it's 2 years ago, the Globers were saying this was proof of the curvature of the Earth. They used to say that this mirror image only happens at the curve, on the curve. So this boat is literally, would be on the, well, where this line is here, would be where the curvature of the Earth started. That's what they used to say. And all these observations and stuff are actually tearing that apart now, because you can't have two Earth curves. So right. It has to be an atmospheric blockage. It can't be Earth curve. It can't be a solid physical blockage. It has to be atmospheric.
No, I made that mistake for a while too. I used to think that reflection meant that was the water line.
Yeah, and that's what the Globers preyed on, because they used to say, oh, let's see, you can't see the bottom of the boat there. Well, why can't you see the bottom of the boat? Well, is it because of Earth curve, or is it something else? And as soon as you take that away from them, that it's no longer the Earth curve that's causing that blockage, you can demonstrate, this image can demonstrate very clearly that this isn't a physical blockage, you know, a physical hump of water that's in the way. You know, you can demonstrate that this is blockage atmospheric. And straight away, anytime you see a boat then, where you've got this inferior mirage, we can claim quite rightly that the hull of the boat is hidden behind this inferior mirage and not behind Earth curve.
Guys, Jaren and probably Arwen as well, you guys debate a lot. Do you think with Ranty's work, they're anywhere near the point of even accepting this horizon line isn't the leading edge of the ball? Or
absolutely not. That's a sin for a globe believer to ever concede a point.
They don't entertain it. They simply bypass it, red herring it.
Especially if it came from a flat earther. If it's a flat earther comment, it's a lie. It's put out there to take away from the truth. That's just their position, and they're going to hold on to that no matter what.
The problem is the old
shout out, sorry, Ranty. So Lee Power, woo woo! Shout out for smashing the GoFundMe campaign. You've also hit a bit of a milestone, thanks to MiG13FE. So thank you very much for also hitting the GoFundMe, as you put Ranty to £500. Woo woo woo!
All right, 500's up. Wow. You know what, a jingle?
Yee! I can jingle for that.
No more wonky horizons. No more wonky horizons.
Wait a minute. The wonky horizons got us the results. Let's be honest.
I'm just with you.
But I was just going to say with Jared, then it was just like the volume of information that's come out now, where people are quite happy to film an inferior mirage, where before it used to be like people would never release a video with an inferior mirage in it for fear of the Globers attacking them for saying that this is proof of an Earth curve. You know, the flat Earth debates has absolutely helped, in my opinion, to break that barrier down. More people have put this volume of information out. They're actually doing the same sort of stuff that I'm doing. And then the volume has created an atmosphere where people like the Rumpus and Jose on their debate channel are like, yeah, well, okay, yeah, so we know that the inferior mirage can cause blockage. And as soon as they say that, you know, and it's out there, and then they repeat it over and over, not just once, it's been repeated dozens of times. The Globers are now accepting that fact, you know? And also with the compression issue, Rumpus was like, oh yeah, well, we know that it happens now, we're going to include it in our ray tracing, you know, and it's like, okay, so when we were originally being laughed at and scorned and it was being thrown back in our faces, now they're happy to accept it simply because of the volume of information that's being showed to them, that they can't deny it anymore. They can no longer claim that the inferior mirage is Earth curve. You know, and that, to me, that's the biggest win. I know I keep going on about it, but it genuinely is, because if you look out to the ocean, 99 times out of 100 you'll see an inferior mirage, and that's where you've got things hidden behind, and things get smaller with distance, and you could hide a mountain behind an inferior mirage if it's far enough away.
Can we get more of your videos on?
More videos?
Yeah, that's what the best bit of the RantyAthon is. I get to see loads of your footage.
Crikey. Okay.
You did a good one the other day with the Red's Rhetoric boat, which I made a video about a while back, but I thought you described it pretty well.
Oh, did I upload that to yours, Nathan? To mine? Or did I?
I think I saw it on Nathan's show, so I don't remember it being on your channel.
Yeah, most of my work just gets showed on Nathan's. I never really put it back up. But yeah, I mean, it was great to actually get that inferior mirage on his boat, because he claimed that was proof that the boat went over the curve, and it wasn't. What was your take on that? Because you said you did a video on it.
Yeah, a long time ago, I just did. You know, you could see birds jumping into the mirage, so I was just showing that the boat didn't go over the curve. I don't remember much else that I did on that video, but I thought it was good at the time, because really, if you go searching for boats going over the curve, there's not a lot of evidence of that on YouTube. You know, there's Red Rhetoric's film, but you'd think you'd see a lot more. If you search that, all you find is flat Earth videos showing boats not going over the curve.
What's his? Did you see his recent video where he did the launch? Where he filmed the launch?
Yeah, a while ago, you mean, when he filmed the launch and the landing thing?
Yeah. What did you think of that?
I think he's filming something. I mean, I think if any of us went to that same location, which is 11 miles away from, at least I think, I could be wrong, could be 7 miles. I don't know how far away he is from it. I think it's 11 miles. But I think if we went there, you would see that launch again. They just have a preconceived belief that rocket goes to space. So even though there's a scene switch, even though you get that completely awkward view that they show once they've gone up in the air, you don't see that from the ground. And it's the same thing we just talked about. The atmosphere builds up too thick. All they would need to know is to know that distance. They launch it out towards the water. So, I don't think that there's any evidence that it goes to space, but of course he's going to use that as proof that it does go to space, because look, I'm watching this thing launch into the sky. They tell us it goes to space. And the fact that I can film it leaving the ground and heading off is proof of that. So, I just disagree. I don't think that there's any proof that where that thing's going other than out towards the ocean. And as far as those things landing, even if that were true, there's still no proof of what exactly that thing is that comes back, how much it weighs, is it filled with helium, what is it constructed of? Could be an aluminum frame with helium in it, for all I know. And even if it is real, even if it is coming back and landing on Earth and the thing's launching 50 miles in the sky and coming back, and everybody's going crazy over it and thinking it's the greatest invention and the greatest technological advancement in years, that disproves completely the moon landings, because there's no way that if we're just now at the point now that we can launch something 50 miles in the sky and it can return to the ground, they're not doing that with any people inside. And they certainly aren't sending it 239,000 miles into the vacuum of space and having it land on a foreign body and having people get out and play golf and drive a moon buggy around and come back. Then it launches from the moon, comes back to Earth, and lands in the ocean. So if that happened 50 years ago, believe me, we'd be a lot further along than barely being able to launch something 50 miles up, having it come back and land on Earth, where we can practice. We can test that. You know, they couldn't test going to the moon. They couldn't test landing on the moon. They couldn't test taking off from the moon. The engine that supposedly went to the moon had never been tested. And so and then they gave everybody the day off work, and they gave every child the day off school so that they could sit at home and watch these moon landings. And they had a schedule in the newspaper saying exactly what time things would happen, exactly what time people would get out of the craft. You just would never do that for your first try. What if everybody's sitting at home and watches these guys get out and die on the moon? Simply, it's a movie, it's a production, it's propaganda. And it worked extremely well. And they made sure that they passed out all the jobs across the country, so that I think that the number, something like 400,000 people were directly connected with the building of the Saturn V. By doing that, everybody in the country knew somebody who worked on the Saturn V, or at least knew somebody who knew somebody. And by doing that and making it a national pride thing, everybody accepted or watched that with amazement and patriotic pride. And the last thing anybody thought was, this isn't real, that this is a production. And it certainly was. I mean, then you go look at the fact that they've never showed us the tapes, the actual film of this moon landing. What they showed you was somebody with a video camera filming a black and white television and proclaiming that that is live footage. But it could have easily been taped, could have easily been done, as Nathan pointed out, with that child that came on his show the other day, with a backdrop. Would have been quite simple to do. And then you would show that to everyone and call it live. You would have it filmed off of a black and white TV screen with one input. Who knows where that input was coming from? And then when you go ask them for the original tapes, oh, what do you know? Conveniently, those tapes have been lost. Not just 5 tapes, but 13,000 reels. If it was 1 or 2 tapes, okay, maybe somebody lost those. But when somebody loses 700 boxes of 13,000 reels of tape, that's purposeful. And it being the greatest accomplishment in the history of mankind, it's a disgrace. And the fact that anybody would allow that company to continue operating, especially on taxpayer money, is a joke. Sorry, I'll stop. I got on my soapbox there.
No, that's fine.
It's a bloody outrage. Did you watch Taboo Conspiracy's video where he read off that guy's
Oh, it's great. Yeah. Moondoggy.
Moondoggy, wagging the moondoggy, absolutely superb. There was various details in there that I wasn't aware of. You're well more genned up on this than me, Jaron. So did you know that the screens in the control room weren't monitors? They were actually TV screens.
Right. Yep.
Not only that, they had information stenciled on them to make them look more legit.
Unbelievable, isn't it? And again, people are just going to allow it. It's too much of a patriotic pride thing. I'm shocked that the rest of the world, like you guys, haven't caught on to this a long time ago. I understand why Americans are connected to it. I really do, because it is a thing of pride, and it's taught in school, and it's very much a USA thing, and it's very much a we beat the Russians kind of thing, and we were superior, and when we put our heads together, look what we can accomplish. So I can see from an American point of view, but when the rest of the world sees what America has done and the lies that we've told, it's just shocking to me that they haven't caught on to the fact that, wait a second, if America is saying that they did this, why has no other country even orbited a person around the moon? I mean, it's just ridiculous to think that with all the technological advancements that we now have more computing power in our pockets than the entire NASA facility combined. There's more memory in your iPhone than there is in the entire NASA complex in 1969. To think that we haven't done anything but go 250 miles, even if you believe that, is, like you said, it's an outrage. It's ridiculous.
It's what was President Trump saying today? He was going to give an awful lot of money to NASA again. Was it to go back to the moon?
6 billion, I believe.
When did he say that? Today?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't looked into the news about that, but I know I read the other night when Mike Pence said that NASA needs to be back to the moon in 5 years, or it's not time to change the. I forgot exactly how he said it. It's not time to change the mission, but it's time to change the organization.
I thought I heard that, Jared, that he was kind of threatening NASA with their job, frankly.
Right. And again, can we believe that, or is it just because at this point I've had my leg pulled enough that I'm kind of weary of all that stuff? But it's just they keep prolonging the inevitable, so it's hard to predict where we'll be in 5 years. But we certainly won't be on the moon. And then the question becomes, will they just do this again? Because Pence will be gone, right? And Trump might be out of office, obviously, in 5-6 years. So then will the next president just come along and say, oh no, I think it's more important to go to Mars, just like Obama did. Obama came and said, there's no reason to go back to the moon. We've already been there. We've already done that. So then he moved the focus to Mars, and supposedly NASA follows. And then they get Trump, and then Trump comes in and says, no, I think it's time to go to the moon. Forget about Mars if you can't get to the moon. So then we spend 8 years, and this is just going on and on and on since the 70s. So at what point do we call foul and say, hey, time out? This is just a milking of $21 billion a year, $56 million a day. To do nothing, to go nowhere. I have a shirt that I just made that's, NASA going nowhere since 1958, because they don't go anywhere. They just continue to take money, prolong launches. This whole James Webb telescope, which originally was approved for like $6 billion. And they said, okay, we'll launch it by 2014, whatever it was. 2014 comes along and they say, oh, we're short money and we're way behind schedule. And then they ask Congress for more money. And what's Congress going to do? They've already given them $6 billion to the price of launching this thing. So it makes no sense for them to say, nope, sorry, we're just not going to give you any more money, because that looks terrible on Congress. The entire citizens of this country would just get pissed and say, what you just wasted $6 billion. So what do? They say, okay, we'll give you an additional $2 billion and get it launched in 2 years. Okay, we'll launch it by 2018. Great. 2018 comes. What do they say? We're short money. It's because of bad management, and it's going to be till 2020 or 2019. And then they ask for more money, and then they get another $3 billion. And this is just, it goes on and on and on, and people just never wake up to it. Why? Because they're in love with Narnia. They love the story. They love the idea of space. They love the idea that there's something else out there. And pushing money to that is just ridiculous.
Jaren, I've heard the boys on Iron Realm this morning on TFR of this. They're going to bring an end to that, because basically all the guys that are eligible to go on Richard Branson's flight into space can now get a custom astronaut version of the Range Rover Evoque. So they wouldn't be doing that if space weren't real, mate. It comes in astronaut blue, I think it's called.
Ooh,
But the point being there, all of this and what that PR stunt is, and what's going off with what Mike Pence is saying, all of this is doing. Jaren, Nathan, I was listening to you and Spurs pre-show, and it's the same thing. It's allowing the paradigm to be drawn into the reality that you can have a vacuum next to a pressurized system without a barrier. All of that is argument outside of that violation. And as if you listen to what Nathan, it's a really good chat, Nathan and Spurs, just before the show, discussing tactics kind of thing. But it really is their key tactic is to keep the argument within the supposition that the violation paradigm, which is space, can exist. And that is the same there in that political arena.
Can I summarize that just in case people who are watching don't know what you're on about?
Yeah.
So basically,
They do, Nathan.
explain to me what whether or not the dust on the claim to be rock actually a light in the sky called the moon, whether or not the dust on that presupposed rock that you can't travel to because it's in a second law of thermodynamics violation, whether or not that dust would be kicked in the air. And my point to him was, it's akin to arguing about whether or not the difference in time dilation in Narnia would cause footprints in the snow. So time's different. They go through the wardrobe, and the time is very different. When they come back through the wardrobe, they're young. When they were old and have been there for years. So time's very different. So time's obviously a variable here. Sorry, I can't help laughing. Anyway,
Nice.
that being the case, does time affect whether or not there's footprints in the snow in Narnia? Now, you could have an argument about that forever. And the people who come up with the idea of Narnia are delighted, because both sides of the argument are begging the question that Narnia is real. And in reality, you can just cut the legs off the argument and go, Narnia's not real. You know, the claim that that's a rock, that's bollocks, because you've had to make that claim by traveling through something that violates the law of nature. So the entire medium that you're claiming that quote unquote rock is in violates that natural law. So it's Narnia. The whole idea of moon in space, yeah, I can see the light in the sky. Doesn't mean it's in space. Doesn't mean space is a vacuum. Doesn't mean it's the huge distance they say it is. Doesn't mean they've gone there. All of that's nonsense. So when you get to the point that you've 5 questions being begged, you then get to the whether or not the the moon buggy that they've transported through the thermodynamics violation can kick up dust or not on the presupposed rock they say is in that thermodynamics violation. It's like nuts. Just say it's bloody Narnia and be done with it. Don't argue about whether or not the moon buggy can kick up dust. It's obviously not there.
See, I was about to fall in to that argument there myself. You can't help yourself. So I was about to say, Jaron was talking about credibility from a British side. I think they're probably less credible. But the thing I think often you do hear comment is, yeah, I don't believe the bloody buggy on the moon. But again, it's keeping that argument in the fact that there is a rock in space that you can travel to via a vacuum, which is next to a pressurized system without a barrier.
Yeah, the argument becomes whether or not they've been to the rock, as opposed to is the rock in a thermodynamics violation, a second law of thermodynamics violation, which is what the argument should be. They just would rather you carried on having the same with the ISS. You know, they'd love it if all day long all we did was argue about whether or not the footage of the ISS is real, because that begs the question that light we see is actually a tin can, or whether or not they're up there in the tin can, or whether or not the footage of the tin can is valid. It's like, no, they're claiming, right, that it's falling around a rock. That's us. And that rock's got gas stuck to it in a vacuum. It's nonsense. Just rip that bit to pieces rather than looking at the footage. I mean, I'm not knocking people who, there's loads of great people who do a really cracking job. And, I'll shout out, BSS of the ISS and Dilly Gill. These people are fantastic. So I'm not knocking these people, but I'm just saying arguing within the paradigm under the assumption that you can travel to the moon is what they want. Great if the arguments hinge around the idea that you could actually go, just whether or not they did. It's like, no, they can't. You can't go to a light in the sky. It's bollocks.
But then again, a lot of the Globers, they need to see this to be turned around. They like to see the pictures and where they're being lied to. So, I understand what you're saying, Nathan. But
the best footage. Stop. Pause.
Hang on.
That duck basically says it all. Those buildings in the background.
Duckzilla.
It's a seal. It's a seagull.
It's bigger than a building, man. Duckzilla.
Yeah, exactly. It's bigger than the building in the background. How's that possible? Well, you plot it into the curve mathematics in Muppet Vision with everything given a feet and inches value. And obviously it all looks normal. The duck's nice and small next to the guy with the camera, and the buildings are still nice and big in the distance. But when you put it into actual vision, perspective vision, the duck's enormous. No, it's just a duck close to you.
It's a seagull, Nathan. A seagull.
Seagull.
It's a pteroduck.
That's a Glober argument if ever I've heard one. That's debunked right there because it's actually a seagull.
Yeah.
It's not. It's a pteroduck.
Discredited.
How's that so big compared to those massive buildings in the background, Ranty?
I don't know.
Yeah, Anthony.
Look at these waves as well. Here we come. Danny.
I'm going to do a couple of shout outs to your contributors, as that's actually what this is about. So, shout out to MiG13FE, Brian Chadwick, and Julio Pabon, who have all contributed to your GoFundMe while we've been chatting away happily. So those guys are getting you ever closer to your target. You're now at 535 British pounds. Woo, 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 woo. Massive thank you. If you can't afford to donate, that's no bad on anybody's part. Totally understandable. However, 4 people, that's rubbish, have actually shared the campaign so far. One of them's Jer, and he's on the panel. One of them's me, I'm on the panel. Adam's probably shared it. So I'm guessing one member of the audience has actually shared it. Fair enough if you don't contribute, that's fair enough. But there's over 100 people watching. At the very least, share the campaign on Facebook or Twitter. That would go a long way. 4 shares is pitiful for 108 people watching. You don't have to contribute, but you can definitely share it. So smash
I
it,
don't think
share it now.
I don't think I shared it from the actual GoFundMe site. I'll go do that.
Oh, don't take that like I'm not nagging you.
No, but I just thought that's just, I didn't share it from there, so I just shared it in Facebook on its own. So I don't think that'll add to the little
side chat for me. Let me share it.
Yeah, Anthony.
Yeah, sleepy warrior.
Do you know what? I feel bad because I can't even. Do you know what? I've had literally I've had a couple of fights recently with the missus over giving away money. I'm not a monetized channel. I don't earn money from YouTube. I'm not whinging, but my point is this. I've given away too much money recently, and the missus has just said, stop. Until Christmas, you banned, and I've had to agree to it. So as much as I want to actually support Ranty on this one occasion for RantyAthon, I can't actually do it without causing a problem. So forgive me, Ranty. I can't donate because I've got a promise not to spend money within Flat Earth because I was just giving too much away. And she's right.
You could put a pound in.
That's
Pound
okay.
in.
No.
Christmas presents.
Anthony, you can solve this basically by monetizing your channel and then using it.
I don't want to do that because I don't want people to then use the monetization. And to be honest, even if I monetize it, it'll be demonetized at some point. So I don't really see the point in doing it.
Well, the way I look at it this way is that when the listen, right, when I announced this morning that I was doing this this GoFundMe this evening, the globe has descended on my announcement, and it was like, you know, you're there to scam people for this, that, and the other. Why are you doing it? What are you going to be doing? Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, let's be honest though. You were the one that found out about this thing that we call compression. That may not actually be compression. It may be stretching from the top. But whatever's going on, things are not uniformly uniformly shrinking as a function of distance. I heard in Jose's chat last night, the guy that sounds a lot like Alex. Oh, what's his name? What's Alex got?
Flat Earth Man?
Name. I don't see him that often anymore. He was describing that perspective shrinks uniformly on a flat Earth. Well, you've demonstrated that that's not true. Something else is happening. What is happening? We don't really know. But you were the first one to show that the Stena Line boat was squashed at the bottom and seemed to be in proportion at the top. It might be stretched at the top and the right size at the bottom. I don't really know. But without knowing about that, then a lot of their arguments about these buildings that don't seem to squash the way that you'd expect them to do in perspective, their arguments would have credibility to them because there does appear to be a reduction in like water appearing to rise above the where you'd expect it to be. But the minute you know that there's an element of compression, then that changes things significantly. And that came from you.
And the inferior mirage. Let's be honest.
That was me.
That was you. He taking the claim for that.
Anyway, who's that over there? I can see someone by the name of Jeranism. What's he doing in here? I haven't seen Jeranism for a long time.
You talk to me every day. Knock it off.
Every day. Every day. He's the worst person to get back. No, actually, Nathan's worse than Jeren.
Busted.
The message.
Yeah, the reason I'm showing this video though is because I'd showed a video earlier on. I let it play for quite a while actually, and it was the same observation point with a massive inferior mirage. So if you can remember from 15 minutes ago when I was showing a video with a massive inferior mirage at tea time, and obviously the majority of those buildings were all hidden. The truck area was hidden too. You couldn't see any of that. You couldn't see any of this land on the left. It was all behind an inferior mirage. If we go over here to the buildings of Barrow, all this was repeated down on itself. If you remember, it was all hovering, and just goes to show that the inferior mirage just blocked out everything that was seen beneath. Say this point where my cursor is right now, everything beneath that was hidden behind the inferior mirage.
Right, can I shout out your contributors again?
Of course you can, yeah.
So shout out to, and this is for smashing the GoFundMe link. There is definitely links in the chat, so go and go contribute. At the very least, go and share it. Bruce Lacey, thank you very much indeed. Colin Turner, also thank you very much indeed. Dodie McManaman, Ace, thank you for supporting Ranty's GoFundMe campaign. Michael Seklavosky, you are awesome. Biggest contributor so far. Thank you very much indeed. Paul Keeling, super smashing the GoFundMe. Thank you very much. Sharag Patel, also a big thank you to you for hitting the GoFundMe campaign. Anonymous, you know who you are. Thank you for supporting. Derek Watson, thank you very much. You are awesome also. Jaron Campanella, thank you very much. Me, thank you to me. John W. Thornhill, thank you very much for hitting the GoFundMe campaign. Another big contributor. So, yeah, that goes a long way. Adam, I can't remember what I called him now. Monkin. Mekong. Adam Mekong. Shout out to you for hitting the GoFundMe.
Adam Mekong. I love you.
Mekong. Mekong. Oh, that's no racism. Right. David Travat. Thank you very much. You are also awesome. Thank you very much for supporting Ranty's GoFundMe. Another anonymous contributor. You know who you are. Thank you very much indeed. Jerry Merciel. Also a big thank you to you, along with Lee Power. Thank you very much indeed. Just a few more. MiG13FE. Woo, woo, woo. Thank you very much indeed for smashing Ranty's GoFundMe campaign. Brian Chadwick, you are also awesome, as is Julio Pabon. So thank you very much indeed. I'll just do a quick refresh just to see if anybody else. There is Jason Disbury. Thank you very much indeed. Awesome. That's raised your total to a nice number, £555 raised so far. Woot, woot, woot.
Wow.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Ranty.
Yes.
Share my screen, Ranty.
Share your screen.
Yes, please.
Okie dokie. Sleepy Warrior, you are screen sharing.
All right, so this is my Facebook page. In the background, my banner is Liverpool Football Club when it was getting its new stand built. Obviously, they didn't quite win the league this year. They got the highest points total ever and not won the league. But anyway, shout outs to Liverpool Football Club. And as you can see, my most recent comment is, can you support a dude from Blackpool? Just 10 quid would really help. It's for a good cause. Earth's not a ball. Let me know if you saw this and donated. So I'm probably going to get numerous amounts of dislike from this. So ultimately, we're all good. So I've shared it. If you haven't shared it, get it done, because it means that we don't have to have a late night tonight. So shout outs to sharing it on Facebook.
Yeah, 5 shares so far from the campaign site. So awesome to whoever just shared it from the site. Thank you very much.
That would be me.
No, that was me.
Nah, you did share from the site, Anthony. Oh, did you?
Yeah, I logged into it. I got the link from the live website, the live Ranty's live now. I found the description box. I found the link, clicked it because like nobody else in the side chat helped me, and then shared it from the GoFundMe page itself.
My ears. I must have spammed the chat link about 1,000 times thus far.
Yeah, I've not got the public chat open though.
Useless.
Hey, listen, I've got an announcement to make. I have done my best video ever. I did ask Jaren and Nathan for voiceovers, but they both didn't get back to me quick enough, so they both got dismissed, right? But I've got...
If I'm not in it, it's not your best video ever.
It is my best video. If it doesn't go viral, I'll be really gutted. So I need everyone to watch it and watch it twice and put a couple of comments on it, because I really need a little bit of support, because it is my best video, right? I watched Jaren's video.
Voiceovers in Tony.
Yeah, there's 10 of them. 10 of them.
Oh, quality.
So it is the thing, right? I watched Jaren's video recently on how and why he drinks distilled water. And he had this little tool called a parts per million counter thing. And I was like, shit, I didn't know that one of those things existed. So I bought one off eBay, not off Amazon, and got it delivered today. And I've been waiting for it for ages. And for some reason, Amazon was a bit slow. I think it was because of it was a weird weekend. But anyway, I got it today. And I've been waiting and waiting and waiting. So I've done my first scientific, with a proper hypothesis, test. I've recorded it and I've uploaded it. And it's currently rendering right now. And basically, if you think that gravity is a thing, you are literally going to have to engage in pseudoscience to be able to argue gravity. because you can't argue inferred causes within scientific method. And basically, I'm looking forward to the ball of morons that think that you can infer gravity when the independent variable is something that I've manipulated to prove a cause and effect relationship. You can't infer extra causes, dickheads. And that's what my video is about. So if you're on my side, basically it's to raise awareness that science is being raped by pseudoscience, and this is how they're doing it. If you're on the ball side, come and argue against it. Because if you argue against scientific method, that makes you the pseudoscientist. So I want to spread the word because this video needs to go viral. So Jeran, make sure you talk about it on your next show or something because it's excellent.
Yeah,
John,
Tony.
hang on, John's seen the pre-release because I've got to give credit to John for it because John's kind of like helped me in terms of my understanding of this topic. And to be honest, everybody, like all the ballers, hate scientific method, and they all pin it personally on John, right? It's not pinned personally on anybody. It's just the way science works. But I didn't know science had a protocol that involved something called scientific method until quite recently. I just assumed that all evidence was good evidence when it comes to science because, you know, they all wear white coats and they all look dweeby and stuff. And I just assumed everything was true until I met John and he said, not all science is good science. And then I started to work out how to distinguish between good science and pseudoscience. And the minute the penny dropped for me, I realized that science is being raped by pseudoscience. And I'm trying to raise awareness because this is the problem. If we know what pseudoscience is and we know how it overlaps within the community right now, we can distinguish from pseudoscience and we can say that's pseudoscience and we can dismiss it. So basically, what I'm doing is plugging myself fantastically because it's my best video. So I'm just saying, come and watch my video in the next hour or so because it's brilliant.
Tony.
Yeah.
And I got your meter. I was doing a little thinking on what you were saying on that, and just to validate your meter a little bit, parts per million meter is a physical measurement, and it's also a calculation. You'll see it in sadly, you'll see it in fluoride toothpastes, for example, 1,500 parts per million. So we can do those calculations. Convert the amount of salt in grams and then twist it. But I won't go too geeky, but we can twist it so that we can validate that the concentrated saline solution is matching up with the volume of salt that you've matched up, therefore validating your meter, so that when you put it in and then put the meter in to the water to read parts per million after you've added it, you'll be able to demonstrate. And what we should be able to do, hopefully, is roughly backwork the approximate concentration of what you've changed the density to.
I was thinking of wearing one of those wanker t-shirts that Fight the Flat Earth wears, you know, like with Jeranism on the front of it, but I just thought I can't wear one of them. It's too bad that.
Mate, we're not wankers. We're going to do proper science.
And buy one that's 3 sizes too small.
Yeah. Shout out to Fight the Flat Earth.
Fight the fat shirt.
Shout out Retractor.
Fight the fat shirt. Do you remember that?
No, it's Fight the Fat Girth.
That's how you do it, does that.
I love how it's painted on him and he makes it. I don't know why he's got moves out thinking that it's pecs, but he's definitely wearing shirts that are way too small for him.
Right.
I just thought his biceps were huge.
Yeah, but I mean, the reality is it came from Jeran's video, right? I watched that. I mean, I've seen this like talk about distilled water, right? And when I saw that parts per million thing, I just thought, whoa, that'd give me a relative measuring device between measuring two different mediums, right? And I just thought I can apply this in a totally different context and just go for the win. So it's like, basically, I wouldn't have thought about it unless I'd have watched Jeran's video. So forget about distilled water for my purposes. I'm working on that little bit of technology. It's got not science, technology, because that little bit of kit proves that I'm changing something called the density of the medium, and it's absolutely epic.
I thought this was a RantyAthon, not a Tony-athon. But
Listen, are you bitter because you didn't make it? You didn't make the director's cut.
I'm pretty sad.
Shout out to Del West Watson, who definitely shared on Facebook. So there's people out there that are still appreciating it's a RantyAthon, even though Ranty's got none of his images up, which is a disgrace for a RantyAthon to have none of your stuff playing. Outrageous.
literally have so much stuff that I could go through.
Well, play it.
Play it.
Hey, but
Like,
it-
Put the centerline ball on.
it's great. It's because you're not
Sounds
playing anything.
We're telling you they have so much.
you do realize that as much as you guys, appreciate the work I've done, I've just showed them on your channels. It's very rarely on mine.
Yeah, we're not ungrateful. We're all here to support you and rally the audience.
Yes, I do appreciate.
Get you that
Ranty,
drone.
you do
Can't wait.
realise-
I really want you to have it. I really, really want you to have that drone.
Hey,
Well-
Ranty, you're going to keep it open for friends, though, right? It's not going to become the property of just Ranty, right? If Riley wants to borrow it, right, or at least we can do this, can't we? We're friends.
Yeah, the
Vote
You
one.
all heard him. He said, "Yeah."
idea.
Vote one in the chat now if you think that Anthony should get to borrow the drone.
Yeah, absolutely.
Two
If
if you
anybody votes 2 or 12 or Z, you
Two if you shouldn't. Two if you shouldn't get to use it. One if you should.
one.
Use on your side.
Well, I wouldn't do it, Ranty. Maybe if you were there to check on it.
No, he's already said yes.
I'll
Otherwise,
take money back.
Riley will get
If
over
Riley's
it.
having a go of it, I want my money back, mate. He'll crash it.
No way.
I'm
I've
not
heard,
investing in a Riley School of Flying.
Ranty wants to push the battery limits to like 8 kilometers of flight, like distance of flight. And I've heard ballers saying, "Listen, dickhead, when it's the real world in the atmosphere, you ain't getting much more than 4 or 5, and that's pushing it." And I'm like, Ranty's going to have a submersible.
Don't say that.
Now, come on, let's see this footage then. What have you got lined up for us? You're not doing your job well, are you, Ranty?
Mavic submarine.
Hold on, let me have a.
By the way, my video will be coming out in the next hour or so. It's currently rendering.
While Ranty's lining that up, Jaren, you Tony was alluding to it in terms of your distilled water stuff. The boys at John, Josh, and the guys, particularly them two, were the ones that convinced me into it. And I'm kind of like a really crap Christian with regards to it. You know what I mean? I'll preach it, but not necessarily do it consistently at home. But I have bought a machine. I mean, mine cost me 60 odd quid, and it's one of the dental distillers. But certainly my wife does it more than I. And that's it's probably because the coffee machine doesn't take distill. I don't fill the coffee machine up. But I just wanted to give you a shout out, mate. It's a wicked thing, and like I say, it's probably like drinking too much. It's something I know I should do better and more correctly. But
Yeah, we all just got to take
flawed human,
little steps here and there to, because it's hard. If you get overwhelmed when you hear all the things that are poisoning us, it's hard to pick which one. And like I said, I wouldn't have, when David Weiss and I think Patricia Steer, some other people were talking about it, and I went and looked at the price and just said, I can't spend $250 on a water distiller, and just kept drinking regular water, kept drinking bottled water, and just never worried about it. But when I got one gifted, and once you start drinking it, and then, like I said, I've lost a lot of weight. I'm not sure if that's the reason, but once you start seeing the benefits, then you just realize that's one change I can make. So yeah, it's easy for me to make 2 gallons of water a day and remove fluoride completely. So
it's creamy, isn't it? That's the way I
caution.
It's not just fluoride, by the way, Jaren. If you're going to do bottled water, you're also going to get bisphenol A.
Just a word of caution. I noticed that. Sorry to interrupt you, Owen. Adam mentioned about putting it in a coffee machine. So unless the coffee machine's glass, I wouldn't suggest that, because if you put distilled water in it and it's got a plastic container, it'll leach the plastic out into the water.
Yeah, I wouldn't put it in any plastic.
No, it's important to both distill the water into a glass jar and also afterwards, because obviously you want to keep the machine going.
Correct.
To transfer the water into another glass vessel, not any form of plastic that you're recycling. Otherwise, you're kind of not totally defeating the object, but you're exposing yourself to the BPAs. The plastic will leach in there. So
right, but to be fair, it's not all plastic.
And then you'll get man boobs like Fight the Flat Earth.
No, but it's mostly the soft plastics, like real hard plastic. That tends to not leach. Although you can check the origin of the plastic.
I'd still stick with glass.
And it aggravates if you heat it. So the worst setup is like a typical handheld plastic water bottle that's kind of squeaky, and you leave that in the sun for like a day.
Right.
That's the worst, because that's when the BPA, thanks to the heating, gets leached in. But yeah, other than that, yeah.
What I would say to you, Arwin, from a scientific point of view, is that all plastics are long chain hydrocarbons, which are subject to UV cleaving. Glass is calcium silicon oxalate, which will in no way ever be affected, and therefore interact with the water. So if you're gonna do something and invest all that time and effort into a distiller, don't then you may as well stick it back in the mud and drink it from the mud. It'd be cleaner there than in any form of plastic. Stay clear.
You say interact with the water. Did you say interact with the water?
Water, yeah. W-A-T-E-R, water.
Yeah. Hi. Somebody
You're right, John.
me to come in and say hi. So hi.
Hi.
Is this like a
Before anything
telephone?
else, before any conversation ensues, sorry, John. Right, so this is a RantyAthon. Just for anybody watching who doesn't know what the point of this is, we've got Ranty's beautiful images that he's captured, and the whole point of this show is to raise money for Ranty to get a Mavic Pro and start taking drone footage. Now, Ranty's been exceptional out actually doing this stuff, and me personally, I want to get him this drone because I know he'll use it and he'll produce good stuff with it. So smash the GoFundMe link. If you can't afford to, that's perfectly acceptable, but share it. We've all got social media on the whole, and just go to the link that's getting spammed continually by me in the chat or in the info box, and share the link if you can't afford to contribute. Obviously, it'd be miles better if you actually stuck a contribution in. I will do another round of shout outs to everybody who's contributed thus far. But yeah, hopefully we can get Ranty some way a bit closer to that Mavic Pro. So smash the GoFundMe link. That's the whole point.
I need to give a shout out to somebody. Somebody
You contributed. Thank you.
No. Somebody's contributed in my name 10 quid because obviously they felt pity on me because I've had a couple of fights with the missus. So whoever donated that 10 quid, shout outs to you, sir. I appreciate it.
You didn't actually do it. Oh, you're not loaning the drone then, if I get it.
No, it wasn't me. Somebody else has done it in my name. So shout outs to whoever that is. I really appreciate it, but I am going to claim that it's me. So thank you very much.
As far as the missus is concerned, no problem, Tony. Anytime, mate.
Yeah. Oh, is that you, Meekin?
Yeah. No worries, pal. On me, this one.
Damn, too fast. You beat me to it, Adam.
Oh, right. So Adam's claiming it then. May or may not be true.
You owe me a ton.
I'm Brian. I mean, I contributed in your name.
I'm Riley.
No, this is
Riley. I'm Riley.
Do you know?
I've seen him on a boat.
Do you know what? That looks like Ranty on the right, and the guy on the left looks like what I imagine 5 Red Pers looks like. Do you remember him?
Yeah, whatever happened?
No,
The Irish Scottish guy. I don't know. He's not done a video for ages, but that's the way I imagine 5 Red Pers to look like. A dark-haired bloke that's kind of. I don't know. That's just how I imagine him to look like.
no, the back of the boat's under the water.
No, that must be Fight the Flat Earth then, right? It's funny because I'm the one that gets called fat.
No, that's an extra large shirt or a large shirt. That's not him.
Yeah, Fight the 5 Red Pers. He seems to have disappeared. He's not done anything for ages. If you're new to Flat Earth, you'll not know who he is, but he's an irate Scotsman. He's a bit like Dell, really, but.
So, gentlemen, is this like a telethon?
Yeah, in some way.
RantyAthon.
Have you put your hand in your pocket?
Well, I have something to offer.
Oh,
Cash. That's what we want.
Nah, it's almost as good as cash, though. I have a ballad, a dirge, if you will, for the ball-tard spinning space monkeys. You ready? Turn out the lights, party's over. They say that all good things must end.
Somebody mute him.
We're going down literally.
Terrible.
People are taking their donations back.
Yeah, people are going to.
Thank God someone muted him.
That was terrible. That I'd have paid not to hear that.
You are literally going down.
Yeah, pay not to hear. Pay not to hear. That'd be probably better.
Take no responsibility for that. All your contributions dry up, I'm going to blame John.
Well, it's interesting. A lot of people want to know what would be what would use the drone will have, and I mean, if they can't see what use the drones are going to have, I just, I mean, it's pretty obvious, isn't it?
Well, it's obvious. You can see farther over the curve.
Oh, God, Arwen, I've been meaning to have a word with you about this for a long time. We've got to get into the habit of declaring things as they are, rather than the sarcastic. Because we appreciate it, we'll declare, like you've just done, the sarcastic opposing view. It's like, well, no. The reason he wants a drone, let's just make it clear, is because we've just realised the biggest lie ever: the world's not a sphere. So I want to have a bloody good look at it. And unfortunately, I run a YouTube channel all day long, and Ranty is very keen to go out and actually look at it. Where I can't capture footage, Ranty can, if he's got a drone. So I want him to go and look at the flat plane we've just figured out we live on. So I'm pretty keen, because we found out we've been lied to. If everybody else is unaware of this massive revelation we've just all had, then you're in the wrong place. Hello?
Well, there's a more scientific reason than that, Nathan. as well as with the drone. Don't get me wrong. Having a 4K drone to film some of the amazing footage around here would be awesome. But it's literally that it's the range on it. It's what I can do with it. I'll be able to go and find boats that don't have GPS on them, so that I can actually track them, see how far away they are, film them just like this from the shoreline in different weather conditions, different tide heights, different wave heights, different amplitudes on this swell. And I'll be able to formulate, hopefully by the end of the year, some kind of database that we'll be able to refer back to, and we'll be able to say, well, when the sea state is sea state 2 or 3 or 4, judging by the footage and the research that I'll have done this year, I should be able to say, if this is the sea state 5, you won't be able to see a 10-foot boat at 2 miles away, simply due to the waves or whatever. And by the end of the year, this is going to be exceptional. I mean, some of the days that we get when we can just see stuff, where we can just see these boats, but I'm not able to say how far away they actually are. I'm just guessing. I'm just saying, oh, I think they're roughly 3 miles away. I could be a mile off for all I know. It could be 4 miles away. And, but to be able to actually just fly out there, have the drone over him, film them, say, right, okay, so I know how far away this boat is. My tripod is set to 1 foot. How much of the boat are we seeing? How much of the boat can we actually see when we actually lower the drone and take an image of it, looking at the boat, so we can get a close-up image of it in relation to the P900, the P1000 footage from the shoreline. It's really for the scientific stuff more than anything. And here's me lying on the floor in a minute.
On the beach on your belly.
On the beach on my belly in the water, and I'm going to put my camera, I think, on this rock. And this rock is only tiny. I think this is the video.
I made my own tripod out of sand.
Oh, I've done that. In fact, I've dug sand out of to get down below sea level.
Shout out to Lennox Lewis.
Why? Did he contribute?
15 quid.
Really? Oh, thank you, Lennox Lewis.
Lennox Lewis. Len Lewis. Lennox it is, not Lennox Lewis.
Ah, damn. I thought
Ben Lennox, massive shout out to you. Thank you very much for supporting Ranties with £5 off 600 quid. So absolutely.
I've just stuck another £5 in there. And
yeah, so you have Adam Meakin. Shout out to Adam Meakin.
Yeah.
And there's another one.
What can I just say?
LeBron.
Riley donated more than you, Adam.
You see how they started picking up after the marriage?
Get out of me, cheapskate.
Oi,
No rumpusing the shout outs. No rumpusing the shout outs. Shout out to LeBron for hitting the GoFundMe, and Adam Meakin, who's definitely not called Mekong, and Len Lennox. Thank you very much, all of you.
Cheapskate, Adam.
Two things, Riley. I'd already done a £20 donation, you cheapskate. The £5 was on behalf of John for never, ever, ever to sing live on the RantyAthon again, because I thought it was worth an extra £5 just for that.
No, the donations picked up after the dirge. Come on.
It was to stop you.
I've got to
They're
admit,
literally throwing at you to try and make you stop.
the donations did actually ramp up after the singing. We can't deny that. Correlation's not causation, but I'm just saying.
Exactly.
It's the way they throw the money. Like you can throw it at their feet or throw it at their faces. You know?
Let me change topic slightly. Hey, Jaren, do you remember what the parts per million was for your tap water?
I got muted.
I think it was 180 for the
Yeah, mine was just under around about 200. So our tap water must be as contaminated as yours, but a little bit more.
Yeah, where I used to live, it was 420 or 450 usually.
Was that the rust in the pipes, or was that something else?
Man, it's disgusting. That's the one where you can't even take a shower without it, leaving spots all over.
Yeah, mine was about 200 fresh out the tap. Well, I say fresh, enough for me to be able to do what I wanted to do.
And Adam, do you know how that works? Is that does it send an electric current through the water? I'm guessing.
Yeah, as far as I'm aware, it's electrical conductivity of it. So it is an approximation. That's why I was saying to Tony, it'd be just a good thing because it's only going to be approximate. But if you calibrate it with just the tap water, then test it with various constant. This is what I'd say is important, Tony. As you add the salt to whatever fixed volume you're going to do to make your concentrated saline, divide it up into 5 or 6 and take the measurements of the parts per million reading, okay, over there, and that will allow us to build a calibration scale so that when you then pour the concentrated solution in to the other stuff and then we take the reading of that should allow us to, based on the concentration scale that we've built, tell us what the density of the water that the egg's now sat in is.
Yeah, but here's the thing though. When I saw Jaren's video and I ordered my own little parts per million meter thing, I was too excited and I thought, right, let's speed up the process a little bit and see if I can get
it off already, aren't you?
No, listen. Let's see if I can get the egg to float in the middle already. So I poured a shitload of salt in it, and basically it didn't look like it was doing anything. So I thought I'm going to leave it overnight and see if it settles down. Anyway, woke up the next morning and it was about 3 millimeters off the floor, and I was like, "Holy shit! It must have been just perfectly like fluke." Anyway, the egg was like a little tiny bit off the floor, and I was like, "Right." So I knew that the egg was literally at that point where it's ready to move. It's moving, right? So I know that a little tiny bit more of salt is going to make it move. So I'm like, right, I don't need to do anything here because it's primed. So although I take your point, what I actually did was I primed it the day before so that I knew that when I added salt to it, if salt was going to change the density of the medium, that egg would move with not a lot of salt. And what do you know? Well, I don't want to spoil it, even though you all know what's going to happen because it's not gravity causing it, obviously. But the reality is I knew that I wouldn't need much more salt after that. So, yeah, I take your point, but I decided that it would save me a lot of messing. Because if you did it your way, you'd have to increment it and then wait whilst it settled. And then and that would take forever to try.
You're right, Tony. Fuck science. That's not what I said. But what I was trying to say to you was if you would have used your meter to calibrate, I was responding to Jaren's point that how the parts per million meter works. It is an approximation. So what you'd need to have done to be able to state the density of the final solution would have been to calibrate it so that a parts per million meant something with regards to the salinity of that solution.
Yeah. Do you think I don't understand how relative? Listen, I've got the tap water.
I'm not having a go. I'm just saying.
Listen, I've got the tap water measured, right? That's my baseline. And from that calibration measurement, from there, I've got my other salt solution, which is from the same tap water. I've just added the salt to it to speed up the process. So I've got my baseline, which is about 200 parts per million. And then when I've added all my salt and I saw that it started to move, I know that that's getting to the point where I can add a little bit more. And when I measured it, it'd gone up to 300 parts per million. So I know I've got my baseline and I've got my relative value relative to it.
Right.
Mm,
And you pre-soak the egg.
Sorry, the more important thing. Sorry, really sorry. Shandy Chadwick, thank you very much indeed for hitting the GoFundMe link. Really appreciate that. A little bit closer to Ranty getting his Mavic Pro. Also, is it Robin lifting the lid, who's hit the super chat, and one of the Jardo for also hitting the super chat. Thank you very much indeed. In this instance, better to hit the GoFundMe link, but obviously Ranty's still going to be very, very grateful for all of the support he gets in any form or shape. But nevertheless, if you can't afford to hit the GoFundMe link, please share it. So smash that link, go and share it on Facebook or Twitter. Obviously, we prefer if you actually contribute to the GoFundMe link, but if you can't afford to, that's fine. Just share it. That would be equally as well received. But yeah, if you can, great. Smash the GoFundMe link and actually contribute towards the Mavic Pro. That's the point of this show. Ranty's putting some of his beautiful images up, as you can see on screen now. Beautiful singing from Quantum Eraser. Had Words of Wisdom from Jeren. We've had something from Anthony.
Can you hear me, guys?
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I just want to say this video is awesome because none of these wind turbines should be seen at all. They all should be hidden. So when you do see these turbines in here, not a single one of these should be seen from this distance because I'm actually at St. Anne's right now. So I am so far away that these turbines, none of them should be seen. Let's just get this into the Globers' heads. None of these turbines that you see right now spinning around should be seen.
Well, you barely see them though.
Yeah, it was Mercury.
You do see something.
Do you want to take a...
You're now at £605 total. So you're almost halfway there, amazingly. So brilliant. Well done by everyone who's contributed thus far. £605 raised so far. Excellent stuff. Keep it coming.
Almost halfway. That's just amazing. That's really...
I can get him the rest of the way. Turn out the light.
Oh God.
Yeah, that's good.
Oh,
Somebody's muted him. That was quick.
oh, Long Johnson. Oh, Long Johnson. Come, donkey.
Darwin, quick.
Donkey. Oh, Long Johnson.
Yeah, that's from you, Owen, as well.
Is Arwen sick?
No,
Oh, there you're
I
sick.
was doing the Long Johnson cat.
Hey, Ranty, why is it those lampposts all seem to be shrinking? Is it because they're shrinking in real life?
Yeah, that's what it is. This one
Getting
here.
smaller in real life. So,
Yeah,
so their actual size is getting smaller, right?
Yeah.
Damn.
This one is bigger than that one, and that one's bigger than this one, and that one's bigger than that one. Yeah.
It's a great architectural design.
Just perspective. All of these lampposts are the same actual size, but they're not dropping around a curved earth that only takes into account mathematically their actual size, because as you can see from the picture, their angular size is reducing rapidly as they get further and further towards that point that they'll disappear completely. Not to earth curve, that's nonsense. That's just an effective perspective. Something that they've hijacked by using feet and inches values. So no, these feet and inches values aren't getting smaller, Anthony. These lampposts aren't getting smaller. Their angular size, the representation that we see, that's definitely getting smaller. The angle that we see. That's how we see. We don't see in actual sizes. That's Muppet vision.
Hey, Jaren, have you come across Muppet Vision yet? Have you used it?
I haven't used it yet, no.
I noticed that you started using obviously and observably flat.
Yep. Or stole it, really.
Yeah.
But no, I guess explain to me why it's Muppet Vision.
Go on, Nathan. This is your bit.
Well, Muppet vision is orthographic view, to be more technical. The piss take name is Muppet vision, but orthographic view is the side view. So as these lampposts get further and further away from you in this view, a perspective view, their angular size reduces. Whereas if you flip the view on its side, so then you see the side of the observer's head and the target equidistant. In other words, from your viewing position looking at the representation, you can see the side of the person's head and the side of the camera, and a straight line being drawn between the observer and the target. And that's done so that you can represent it proportionately, accurately, with actual sizes. So if the guy on the left is 6 foot, let's say that's 6 pixels, and the building he's looking at is 30 foot, let's call that 30 pixels, then you can represent it as such, even though, like with the lampposts, 30 pixels might be 20 pixels if it's a bit further away, but you remove all aspects of perspective and you can represent it in actual sizes if you do it in an orthographic view, which is what we call Muppet Vision. The giveaway for Muppet Vision is the side of your own head being seen. So I don't know if anybody else can give me an example of this, but typically when I look at something or take a picture of something, I don't see the side of my own head in the photograph. That's never happened. But that's how they represent your world, so they can remove perspective. Muppet Vision.
Got it. No, I have not adopted it, Tony, because I never understood. I get orthographic, but I didn't understand why we were calling it Muppet Vision. But now I do.
Well, it's because heliocentric priests apply orthographic. So rather than say orthographic and confuse people, we thought Muppet Vision, because that's what they do, would be a more apt term. Obviously, it's confused. Jeren.
I stole it from Dilly Gill. So Dilly Gill, it just brings it back onto NASA a little bit, but Dilly Gill used to describe the way they comprised the shots to give you the magic back in the 90s. So I'll try and keep this concise. They've got a setup with a studio, a live audience watching a broadcast from spaceship, doesn't matter which one, and they're on the spaceship and they're broadcasting and answering questions to the audience. So they're watching it on a television screen in the studio, just a regular TV screen with a stage and people sat on the pews watching this TV, talking to what they think is a live broadcast. Now it is live, but it's filmed with 2 different cameras, and the camera that's presenting the image to the live audience is in crapovision. That's what was coined by Dilly Gill. Now, because it's in crappy vision or crapovision, it's of a slightly lower angle, so you don't see the ceiling and all the wires that are suspending the actors. And then at a later date, they take a slightly different camera angle in a higher resolution and CGI out in post, because this is in the days before they could do it in real time like they do now. And in post, they just remove the ceiling. So you have essentially the same process as you get when they filmed Gravity. So, when she's going through all the different hatches with wires and then they just CGI out the ceiling. That's essentially what they were doing. But so they could get away with very thin wires to a live audience, they film it in crapovision. Now, crapovision is a very prevalent thing at NASA, considering these are supposed to be the people on the absolute cutting edge of cinematography. You've got, people in Hollywood asking them for lenses. You'd expect them to produce top quality footage. But what they produce is absolute garbage. Crapovision, right? So Muppet Vision is just my take on, the representation that we're given in the mathematics, because it's a joke, Muppet Vision, in the same that the joke of the NASA representations of their claim to be live footage from a soundstage somewhere with wires is actually in such terrible quality, despite them being apparently on the cutting edge of cinematography. So smash that GoFundMe link right now.
Nathan, you can also call it elderly vision. When really old people they are. It's like, yeah, I see it, sort of.
Yeah, 1 brick will be 1 brick at 1 meter, or 1 brick will be 1 brick at 1 million meters. In Muppet Vision, that's where you get the idea that you can see forever, because in Muppet Vision you can. With a big enough scale, you can shrink down your 6 foot man, and let's say on your monitor, which is a 6 foot monitor, which isn't beyond, well, actually, I've got an 8 foot monitor, so what's wrong with that? On my 8 foot monitor, you can say, fine, you can have a 2 scale 6 foot man, and then you shrink him down to 1 pixel, and the rest of the monitor is representative of, I don't know, 1,000 miles, probably miles off, but it doesn't matter, just for the purposes of demonstration. Well, at that point, you can draw 1 straight line from the side of the head of the observer all the way across to the other side on a flat plane. and the two lines intersect. So you would assert, based on Muppet vision, that you should be able to see New York from Wales. You know, from the UK, you should be able to see parts of the, you know, what, the Empire State Building and whatever. No, well, that's because of Muppet vision. So in their mathematics, because their mathematics is in Muppet vision, the assumption when you remove the curve, the only cause of the obstruction ever, that's the only thing that the Earth curve maths can assert. When you flatten that out and apply the same principles, Muppet vision, you can draw a straight line from target to observer, observer to target at any distance. It doesn't matter if it's 1,000,000 miles. You can still draw a straight line from point A to point B, but you're back to, it doesn't account for the angle. It's just a straight line, and the target is a building that's 100 feet, you're 6 feet, 1,000,000 miles in between. You can still draw a straight line between the two. It just doesn't factor in that building in reality is getting ever and ever smaller as it gets further and further away. So Muppet vision suggests to the Globers, and this is why they challenge us with this, why can't you see New York from England? Well, because you would only ask that question because your reality, your mathematical reality at least, is presented to you in a Muppet vision representation that removes perspective. So you think flattening out the only cause of obstruction ever, Earth curve, leaves you with a situation where you can see forever. Well, yeah, you can in Muppet vision, but not in reality.
Nathan, that was like the most concise answer I've ever heard.
I was going to say, Tony, I always thought it was because only a Muppet would think the geometric representation of both the observer and the things they're observing could in any way represent the data contained within the eye of the observer or a photograph. It's just ridiculous.
No, do you know what a Muppet thinks? I'm going to give 2 examples of a Muppet. Joshua came in one day and he asked how tall would a 10-foot wall be at X distance, and I said
Didn't hear what you said. He cut off.
I realised that perspective.
You're breaking up.
But the other point for Muppet
You're
vision.
breaking up.
What?
You're breaking up.
Reset audio engine. Just reset your desk. It's cutting up.
Done. Am I sorted?
That's better.
Right.
So Joshua came in one day asking, how tall is a 10-foot wall from X distance? I can't remember the distance, 10 miles or whatever. And I said, depends on how far away it is. And he wanted me to say 10 foot, but obviously I know what perspective is, and it makes things smaller over distance, right? Plus a whole host of other things that Tim Osmond kindly helps us with. Shout out to Tim. But anyway, Joshua came in and he got his bum smacked royally this day. But the other example of Muppet vision is believing that on a clear enough day with a powerful enough zoom and
it's happening again.
because that is what they think you can do.
Yeah, I'll paraphrase because Anthony's cutting up. According to the Muppets who use Muppet vision, with a big enough telescope and a clear enough day, you can see your own arse because light just refracts forever around the ball and you can see forever. Well, that claim made by people like Rumpus and Paul Voigt and various others, that claim implies that you can see forever, that there is no such thing as the diffraction limit. Things never get too small to see. So those Muppets think that you can see forever because that's what their calculator says you can do. And if you're not seeing forever, there's only one reason, because Earth's getting in the way.
Yep.
They also think that light curves. It deviates from straight in all directions according to Fermat. They ignore Fermat and they apply Snell's law and 7.6R instead. Don't know why they ignore Fermat's principle.
Well, light doesn't bend, it deflects.
Ranty, Anthony, prick up your ears. John, you were there? Disappeared.
Hello?
Yeah, right. What the thing you were showing me earlier about looming? And I said, Ranty and Anthony will be all over this.
Yeah, didn't they catch that?
I don't think so, because they've not discussed it. And Anthony's gone on to describe, I can't remember what it was called already. There was one that was called towering. What's the opposite of towering again?
Stooping.
Stooping. You've got
I'm
it.
aware of stooping, but I've not heard John reference it. So do you want to reference it, John?
Yeah, earlier on the show today, we brought up the topic that all the ballers are saying that there is only one cause for things disappearing. over the horizon, or there's only one cause for obstruction, or whatever. And I said, well, wait a second. Isn't refraction in their heliocentric reification fallacy? Model? And everyone said yes. And it's clear, it's clearly written and cited that that sinking partially obstructs objects and sometimes completely obstructs objects. It's in their own freaking model, but they it's like that they don't know that. I don't know.
So your example with Soundly,
Convenience.
the up and down stuff with the lights bobbing up and down on the bayou. Yeah, that's right. Like,
Sorry, was that aimed at me?
yeah. So you quite often use Soundly's footage with the lights, a quarter of a mile apart.
Yeah, let me dig them out and I'll stick them on because it's.
Yeah.
I don't know. Jeranism.
Well, Anthony's point with that is that they go up and down, and generally it evens out to be basically negligible. But yes, there's a very slight deviation both up and down. So if they're going to claim that it's always bending down, which it doesn't, around the curve of an Earth at a presupposed 7/6R, aka terrestrial refraction, then you also have to admit, because it's part of the definition, that it's definitely going to do the same in the other direction, not just 7/6R.
And the other thing is, it all acts independently of each other. It's at every point. So every integer, like you can call it every meter, every centimeter, every mile, every integer along the path that the light's following is independent from all the other previous integers, whatever scale you use. So this idea of following a curved path is nonsense. We can demonstrate with Soundly that when he did his little Tensor Bayou experiment or test, observation, call it whatever, they're not experiment, we can demonstrate that Soundly proves that light does not travel in a curved path. It independently fluctuates from point to point to point to point. And that literally shits against the idea of 7/6R because we know that it doesn't do it. Soundly demonstrates it. It doesn't matter about maths, doesn't matter about formulas and theories. Soundly literally showed that the light travels in straight lines, deviates from straights at all integers along the way, and overall it's straight. Sometimes it dips a little bit down, sometimes it dips a little bit up. Doesn't support any model when it dips up unless it's concave, but Soundly demonstrates it, and I'm going to dig it out now because it's probably one of his best pieces of evidence against the Bohr model, because light doesn't travel in a curved path. It deviates from straight.
While you're doing that, so I'll do a shout out quickly to the anonymous donator of GoFundMe campaign for the Mavic Pro. Ranty's now up to 625 English pounds. Woo, 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 woo. Massive thanks to all who've contributed. Once Anthony's done with his Soundly demonstration, I'll shout out everybody who's contributed thus far.
Who wants to present? Does Tony want to present?
Yeah.
Okay, no worries.
Are we on?
Hang on, hold your horses.
This video's really not had enough views. It's not even 1,000 views, but it was quite new into the channel because I started the channel again. I had too many trolls and stuff. But if you haven't checked this, right, the idea is that light follows a curved path. So what I'm going to do is full screen. So what I did was I put on an arrow on an angle, right? It doesn't matter what the angle is because it's relative to all of the lights. And you're looking at the straight bottom line edge, right? You're not looking at the tip up here. Ignore that. You're looking at the straight line edge that's along these lines. And this is little Tensor Bayou. Soundly thought he was being hero when he did a time lapse over the whole day, showing him setting up this. But we obviously realized the value in this, and he's too dumb to realize how important this is. But we were able to utilize this and demonstrate that the lights, when the lights come on over the period of the dusk period that he's working in, this straight line just gives us a frame of reference, and we can see that all of these lights, they're all acting independently of each other, right? They're not following a curved path. Some of them go up while others go down. And you can see that because you've got a line of reference, a frame of reference, which is the line, you can see that, like, if you look at any two lights, sometimes they go above, that's curving up, not down, it's curving up. And then other times, I mean, look how much that's curving up there right now. It's like, that's concave Earth, right? but other times it's flat, like it is being shown right now. Oops, gone off that there. I'll go back a little bit. So there's other times, depending on where you're picking this, because I just showed this because Soundly was show. Sometimes it bends down like it is now. So it all depends on the exact moment that you're taking your picture and what them exact conditions were at that time. And that looks like it supports 7.6R. But my point is that all these lights are acting independently of each other. So although it helps on their occasion now it's kind of like in the middle, it's kind of flat. And then further down, it starts to bend up crazily. And it's like how the light's clearly not following a 7.6R path. Because if it was, it would never bend up. It would only ever bend down. And that's clearly bending up relative. And my point is that they're all independent. They're not all doing the same thing in unison. And we're told that light follows a curved path. It's complete and utter nonsense. It doesn't do that. So if you haven't checked this video out, go and watch it. It's a really good video. Soundly uses, I use Soundly's own work against him, because it's really good. It's not even 1,000 views. That's terrible.
Yeah, who cares? It's an excellent example.
Shout out
Excellent.
Deep inside the rabbit hole, £78.
Cool.
No way, that must be $100, right?
Yeah. I'll get to him. So Shane Cook, obviously campaign runner. Shout out to you, even though you're running the show and the campaign. Bruce Lacey, thank you very much for hitting the GoFundMe campaign. Colin Turner, massive contributor. Woo! Thank you so much. So much closer. Thanks to Colin Turner. Dodie McKiernan, thank you very much indeed. Again, another massive contributor, Michael Seklivosky. So much appreciated. Big contribution from him. Paul Keeling, really appreciate your support. Thank you for hitting the GoFundMe. Sharad Patel, the same. Really appreciate it. Anonymous, you know who you are. Derek Watson, thank you very much indeed to you for supporting the campaign. Jaron Campanella, who's on the show right now. Woo! Thank you very much to you. Me as well, but I won't shout me out. Sean W. Thornhill, thank you very much for supporting the campaign. Adam Mekong, thank you very much for supporting the campaign also. David Trevat, you're awesome. Thank you so much for supporting. Another anonymous contributor. You know who you are. Thank you very much indeed. Jaron Merciel, thank you very much for supporting the GoFundMe campaign. Likewise to Lee Power, who also supported recently. Thank you very much indeed. MiG13FE, who I believe is in the chat right now. Woo! Thank you very much. Shout out to you. Brian Chadwick, also awesome. Thank you so much for supporting the GoFundMe campaign. Julio Pabon, thank you very much. Jason Disbury, thank you very much. Anthony Riley, not really Anthony Riley. Maybe you'll stick it in just to show a bit of willing. We'll see. Find out by the end if Anthony Riley on the show sticks a pound in. But thanks to the fake Anthony Riley for supporting on his behalf. Dieter LeBurn, thank you very much indeed for supporting the campaign. Another £5 from Adam Meakin to shut John up in his singing, although we do love him all the same. So thank you very much to Adam Meakin. Lennox, correlation's not causation, John, before you say your singing didn't make any of these contributions happen. Shandy Chadwick, thank you very much indeed for your support. Really appreciate it. Another anonymous donor 15 minutes ago. Maybe not 15 minutes ago. I hadn't refreshed for a while. Thank you very much indeed. And last but by no means least, David Weiss, thank you very much indeed for the $100 contribution. It goes a long way. So, Ranty, you are now at £703. Very close to halfway there. Amazing.
That's halfway, isn't it? That has to be halfway.
Can I just give another massive shout out to David Weiss? He appears as a voiceover on my next video, so check out my next video.
He's an excellent script writer for the debate. Does really good work.
What?
An excellent script writer for the debate. His scripts go down really well.
What are you talking about? I've never read a script from David.
Have you not received one?
Am I not on the mailing list? Is that why I always get shit wrong?
Oh, I get one for every Monday. You didn't get one?
Don't mention this. Just we'll brush past this. Shh.
Right, I want to be on the mailing list, please.
Tony, mine's probably not as detailed as Jaren's, but I just get a monthly overview.
Mine's much more detailed. There's must says, don't says, and say offens.
So if you think about what was that thing? Meet the Fockers. Where, do you remember that circle of trust? And Greg wasn't in the circle of trust. I'm Greg right now.
No, it's nothing like that. It was actually just a joke. Just pretend we didn't say it, Anthony.
Oh right, okay. I feel all helpful again now and useful to society.
So anyway, more importantly, as Ranty brings up some of his glorious images again, this is a GoFundMe campaign promotion. So the whole point of this is to raise money for Ranty's Mavic Pro 2 which he'll tell us all about the details once I've finished shouting out all those people. And
he's going to share it with me.
Again, yeah, we've already taken a vote on that. That's not happening. So
yeah, he's going to share it with me.
Use of Ranty Flat Earth to the drone that we will support him to get if he gets there, hopefully in the not too distant future. But he's hoping to obviously. Oh, shout out to all the people who shared. There's 9 shares now. So if you can't afford to contribute to the campaign, that's perfectly acceptable. Go to the campaign. I've put lots of links in, shouting people out with the links attached in the chat or in the info box if you can't get hold of the public chat. Yeah, just share it if you can't contribute. That's not quite as good, but very nearly, because it does definitely help people to come along to the show, hopefully join in with the fun, listen to John singing, and that tends to go some way to getting people's interest in what Ranty's doing, and hopefully showing in a moment when he brings it up. But Ranty, can you tell us all about the drone? That's the whole point of this.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm showing you now. Obviously, the PC's slowing down a little bit, but this is where I do all my filming from, and from the coast and such like. And it has so many boats and so many options to actually film boats in different locations. So I can be down here on the beach, and there can be boats out in this location here, 4 miles, 5 miles away. Well, you know, if you do the curve calcs on that, you know, and you've got your tripod set up to say a foot, you know, 6 or 7 feet of those boats should be missing. So, you know, this is great. Having a drone to actually assist me to find out exactly where these boats are whilst I'm filming from the shoreline is going to be great for obviously doing that type of work. But also I want to do things like this. So I can park myself down here at Thornton, and then I can go down here. I can take my drone to this location here. So right next to the pier. So let's say 3 miles away. And I can set my tripod up to half a foot above the actual water, and I can land my tripod or have my drone with any kind of lights or infrared laser beam on it, and I can film it from 3 miles away. And this means that I don't actually have to have somebody with me at all times to do these tests that I want. I've been desperate to do different kinds of tests in this location for such a long time, but being on your own, it's really difficult. So having the option to actually have a drone to assist me, I can send it to places where I want it to go. I can film it all the way. I can land it right here because I've got a target where I can land it to, and I can show you on this here. So this is the pier. So this is obviously from the different end. Could normally be on the other side of that, but I can fly over to this pier. I can land it right next to the water, and I can hopefully still see it. You know, this is all doing 3 mile tests, you know, along water's edges. You know, I'll be able to do it up and down this coast. I'll be able to do it up in Scotland. I'll be able to find out different distances to boats in different weather conditions. So this is what it's going to be used for. And it can go up to 500 meters high, Nathan. 500
meters, yeah, man. Almost 1/4 mile high, and nearly 5 miles distance from your location where you control it. I mean, the specs on it sound absolutely phenomenal.
Well, that's it. I mean, here's a boat. Yeah, there's a boat here, and it's really difficult to tell how far this boat is. Perspective really plays havoc with you on the water when you're looking at a boat. Like the Stena line, for instance, when I film the Stena line, to me, it looks really close, but then you check its route, and it was 6 miles away. You know, so you just don't get an idea of just how far away these boats are on water. So a lot of these small boats don't have GPS on them. So being able to actually locate them with a drone, as well as film them, you know, it's going to be great data, I think. Obviously, these buildings over here, you shouldn't see any of them. They're all hidden behind an inferior mirage, but you can still make out the tops of them. You know, these buildings should not be seen. It's just, just the way it is. And this massive inferior mirage is hiding the bottom of the bottom of the buildings. You know, the Globers know this now. They don't come back at us with this inferior mirage stuff anymore. You know, we took that little toy away from them this year.
Can't wait till you get your hands on it. You reach target. I mean, I should really shout out your super chatters. Clearly, thank you very much for hitting the super chat. If you don't hit your target, at least you can take some of the money out of the super chats from this show alone, and hopefully bump up to the target if you don't achieve it.
I
But
had super chat. I didn't even realise I had super chat. So thank you for any super chats and all super chats that have come in. I do really appreciate it.
I've been shouting them out. Don't worry, I'm on it, Ranty. I'm all over it. I've been thanking people in your chat for contributing to your GoFundMe by shouting them out in the chat. So hopefully you're all getting shout outs and seeing who's contributed. All part of the fun.
Can I just say though, last year or the year before last, Jaren, you're still here, yeah? You know, when we saw this stuff, it was like we didn't want to talk about it, did we? You know, these inferior mirages, half the building missing, just mirrored down, you know.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that we didn't want to talk about it, but it certainly was interesting, and we didn't know how to explain it. But I think now it's being explained.
The first time we saw it was, as far as I'm concerned, was the Isle of Man stuff that I presented, or that Ranty told me that it was flat Earth proof. And we didn't know what was going on, but we were waiting for the ballers to basically point out that we weren't seeing X because of this reflection underneath. And it never came. So me and Nathan, I remember Nathan and I had a conversation, and literally it was like, if they mention this, what on earth are we going to say? Because the answer was, we don't know what's causing this. We don't know what this is, but we can see that there's some element of reflection underneath, and we have no idea what's causing it. But if they mention it, what the hell are we going to say? And we were like hoping that they wouldn't mention it, because I didn't have an explanation for it. I didn't know what it was, but we thought they were going to use it against us, right? But it never came. So me and Nathan were like, what's going on here? Why aren't they bringing this up? And it went on for weeks. And Nathan and I are like, I don't understand this. Why would they not bring this up? Obviously, with hindsight, we're looking back on this and we're saying, obviously they know what this is. They deliberately didn't bring it up for some reason. We're having to work this shit out for ourselves. And now looking back on it in over history with hindsight, it's obvious why they didn't bring it up, because it's not the obstruction of the earth that's causing it. It's something else. And I mean, it was coined at the time as dirty air, right? And then it became like atmospheric reflection or mirroring band or whatever. But this phenomena that we observe, right? We don't know what's causing it. And we were like, hang on a minute, scratching our heads. Like, we know something's not right here, but these are not mentioning it. We need them to mention it so we can find out the answer. It never came. We've had to work it out ourselves. And all of a sudden it fell into place with Zach, or I don't know whether it was Zach who was the catalyst, but we realized
Arwen's optical slant.
Well, that was another term that was coined over the time, because we can all see something, but we didn't know what was causing it, and that's where we have to try and work it out. And I'm not sure where I got it from in the end, but I'm sure it was Zach for me personally. But the ballers were deliberately swerving this, and we can all see that it's not the earth that's causing it. Something else is going on, and they never brought it up. Nathan, do you remember the conversations that we were having, anticipating this coming up, and it never did?
Well, it was because, like you say, we didn't know the answer to it at the time. It was really specific in terms of the Isle of Man, because it's that point that it doesn't seem to matter what the weather conditions are. You've got a line that runs through. You never get a perfect image. It's always that little tiny line. It's like, I don't know, 5 pixels high. Would you say?
Yeah.
About that. Anyway, we didn't have an explanation. It's always there. It doesn't matter what the conditions. You've replicated it. Ranty's replicated it, and it's always there. Well, now we know what it is. That's the diffraction limit. That's the point of interference. That's the point where you can't resolve the smallest angle at the bottom, and you never will. It doesn't matter how good your camera is. The only thing you can do is increase the aperture, and then you might catch a little bit more of the lower angle. But that's all you can do. So in other words, unless you get higher, unless you increase your elevation, open up the angle a little bit. And I remember saying to you at the time, because this was happening while Sly Sparkane was trying to convince you to get down to the beach, which, you know, if you don't believe in God, you know, that's one of those things that you go, I was trying to dissuade you, going, don't go down lower. That's going to close the angle. That's going to make it worse. Get up high. I was trying to talk you into taking step ladders up to the cliff. Remember?
Yeah.
I'm like, get up higher. Open up the angle.
Do you remember though? Do you remember though when I went back and did it? And to be honest with you, Nathan, I remember having a conversation, right? I can't remember who. It might have been Nathan. It might have been. I can't remember who. It might have been Ranty. I remember saying to somebody, when I went to the beach that day to try and get it up on my belly, lying on the beach on my belly, and I know they said it was about 10 feet. It wasn't. It was less than 1 foot, but they need to exaggerate it as much as possible. I couldn't see what the camera could see. I could not work out why I couldn't see it, but the camera could. I couldn't understand whether it was an artifact inside the camera somehow. I didn't know why could the camera see something? I mean, I've got really good eyes. I'm colorblind, but I believe that my vision makes up for the color vision deficiency. So I believe that I can see better than most people because I'm colorblind and I can't see the colors, but I can see the definition. And I'm looking through the camera and I can see something. And I look up with my eyes, it's not there. And I'm like, what the hell is going on? And I came back and I was totally and utterly, I was confuzzled. I didn't know why my eyes couldn't see it. Now, looking back on it, I realized my eyes got a much smaller aperture than what the camera has. That's the reason why I can't resolve it with my eye. But the camera can see it. And that day when I took that footage, lay on the beach on my belly, I remember thinking to myself, I don't understand how this is even possible if I can't see it with my eyes, because your camera only zooms in on it. But if my camera can see it in zoom, surely I can see a little bit of it, not in zoom, but it's there. But I just need to focus on it, and I'm looking in. There's just nothing there. So my eyes are seeing just literally nothing, but my camera can see it. So for me, when we did the like the supermarket thing that Jose did, and then for some reason jumped back to the ball, when we did those lights dropping behind, I totally resonated with that because I knew that was the explanation for why I couldn't see on the day with my eyes that which the camera could see, because the camera's got a bigger aperture. That was literally me being on the cusp of that angular resolution limitation with my eye. I couldn't see it with my eye, and I was like, this is crazy. And then it started coming out in the wash, and I was like, that's the reason, because my eye's too small. If my eye was the size of a P900 in terms of its diameter, I'd probably see it. Maybe not in detail, but I could probably see that there's something physical there. But on that day, I just couldn't see it, and it was driving me mad.
Just one thing to add, which is, and I've done this with my own eyes, you can see it if you go higher. So as you open up the angle, you increase the angle by going up in elevation, then you can see it. So I remember walking along that cliff edge with you and Spurs, and you could see the what you call floaty land just. But as you walk down, there was like a tipping point on the cliff as you were descending where you couldn't see it anymore. So you go up, you went literally up a foot, there it was, went down a foot, it went. Because it was the critical angle. Now, again, at the time, I didn't know how to describe it as eloquently as now. But back then, what I did appreciate was that you walk up 2 foot, you can see it. You walk down 2 foot, and you can't.
Do you know what's interesting is that, Jeren, you might have heard this before recently, but if not, that's fine. It'll be a new one for you. But the human eye has a diffraction limit of 0.02 degrees. You know that, yeah?
We'll take that as a rhetorical yes.
We'll take that as a yes, yeah. Okay. But if you was to put your eyeball on a 3 mile surface, and it's completely flat, bearing in mind, a completely flat surface for 3 miles, and you put your eyeball on that surface at 3 miles, at 3 miles away, a 6 foot human will be lost to the human resolution of the eyeball, because that human will only have an angular resolution of 0.02 degrees. And that happens to be the exact amount of drop over a 3 mile distance due to the curvature of the Earth. Do you think they've hijacked perspective?
Yeah.
Hold on. Did everyone follow that?
Say it again.
Okay. Say it again. How about I do something in...
Well, while you're doing something
Paint.
I'll say it again because it's important to get it repeated. So what Ranty's effectively saying is, if you calculate the angular resolution of a 6 foot man and compare it to where Earth curve calculations say that it's the actual size 6 foot has dropped, and the point that it disappears based on the Earth curve calculations, not because of angular size, but because drop of Earth curve, is exactly the same size as the point that it disappears to angular size. So in other words, in this instance, I'm not sure if there are others, but it doesn't matter. In this particular instance, a 6 foot man will disappear due to his limited angle at the same point that the Earth curve says it's getting in the way.
Yeah. So if you've got your eyeball, let's just put it up here, number 1. So if you put your eyeball down here on the floor at 3 miles away, and we're just going to try and look for this human. We're going to try and look for that human.
By the way.
Yeah. I'm not presenting.
Yeah, it's Muppet Vision though. I'm just FYI.
Oh yeah, this is Muppet Vision, yeah. So you've stuck your eyeball at the start here, 3 miles. Your eyeball's on the floor. You go 3 miles away. This human that you're trying to look at, this 6-foot human, his angle is 0.02 degrees, right? That's his angle. That's his angle. Well, you wouldn't see it anyway. On a flat surface, you wouldn't see it because the human eyeball can't see anything below 0.02 degrees. That's its diffraction limit. So in effect, what that actually means is if you was to stick your eyeball on a 3 mile flat surface and the human eyeball can't see a 6-foot human, and they say the 6 foot of Earth curve between you and the human, who's to say what the difference is? Who's to say whether it was the human eye?
Well, no. The conclusion, before you speculate or add anything, because that's beautiful, very, very concise. The conclusion is they have hijacked perspective and called it Earth curve. That's what they've done.
Yeah. So basically, what you're saying is that because of the angular resolution limitations of every lens, but the eye particularly, that's what they've called the curve. So basically, if you know what the angular limitation is, and then you put that into a calculator, and then find some maths to make it, right, you will find a global circular sphere that will conform roughly to that. Add a little bit of fudge factor, 7.6R, and then always it's going to appear like a sphere because that's what they've told you the maths is. Well, maths isn't reality. Maths is description by numbers, by symbols, by equations. We know that. That's why I never, ever, ever engage in maths. And the ballers always say, Riley can't maths. Well, all right, I'm all right with accepting that because if they see me as illiterate with maths, when I do something that's involving physics or physical experimentation, they can't then use the maths against me because I'll deliberately avoid the maths, which is what I always do, because maths isn't reality. What is reality is the real world that we go out and observe, that we test by observing things and then try and work out what's causing it. So when they say things like, well, sunrise and sunset, explain that on a flat earth. Well, how's about you prove it on a ball? Because ultimately it relies on proving something to prove it, not maths. It's not about it isn't about the model. So yeah, I'm all right with them saying Riley can't maths. I don't care. You can say that. You can't prove that we live on a sphere. That's the bigger problem. And I don't mind being ignorant to maths. I use that against them, which is what I'm doing right now with this next upload. It's nearly done. Anyway.
Right, before Anthony gets too much into chatting out, so I hope you're all enjoying this show. The whole purpose of this show is to raise funds for Ranty's Mavic Pro drone. So we're currently at £703. Excellent stuff. Woo! Massive thanks to everybody who's contributed so far. There has been numerous links that I've spammed the chat feed with. If you're frustrated with me, tough. That's the whole point of the show. So we want you to smash the link. If you can't afford to actually contribute, that's fine. Just go to the link that's been smashed in the chat feed or in the info box and just share it. Share it on Facebook, share it on Twitter, share it on MySpace, share it. And that does go some to getting people interested in the campaign, hopefully coming along and watching the show. So yeah, share the show as well. But yeah, most importantly, if you can contribute to the GoFundMe campaign, that would be the most appreciated of all. So as I say, we're currently at £703 towards a total goal of £1,429. Again, a massive thanks to all who've smashed the super chat. But if you can, much, much more preferable to stick it into the GoFundMe campaign and get Ranty that little bit closer to that drone. So yeah, that's the whole point of the show. This is a RantyAthon, so that's why I'm shouting out all the people constantly who have contributed. I'll do it again probably in about 10 minutes time. Shout out everybody who's contributed. If you want to get your name shouted out, that's probably the time to actually contribute, i.e. now. So smash that GoFundMe link.
Shout out to the 64 people that have thumbs down the show.
Wow.
55 thumbs up, 64 thumbs down. Thumbs down are always thumbs up. You guys do realize that. So shout out to the trolls.
A shout out for the interaction. Also, another big shout out to all the people who have actually shared it. So there's been 11 shares of the actual campaign. So check out the campaign if nothing else. Go to the page because it does help them again to get the campaign trending. So get the campaign a bit more interest if you share it. So if you can go to the campaign in the link, smash the tweet or share button on Facebook, that goes some. So thanks to the 11 people who have.
Let me give an update because I've not done an update for ages. I did a GoFundMe for the course fees to get onto a particular course of my choice that I could write freely about. There's an issue at the minute because they don't want me to write about that which I choose to write about. They want me to write about something that they want me to write about, and I've said no. And it's not been resolved recently. It's not resolved at the moment. They've told me not to do what I'm doing, and I've told them no. I'm doing what I want to do because that's what the course material said I could do. Didn't give limitations, and there were no limitations expressed before they took my money. What I have found out since is that all the other institutions, for whatever reason, they want to know what I want to write about before I actually enroll on the particular course. So I've had to apply for these doctorates, and I've had to fill in these like what they call now like research proposals, which involves X amount of words describing what you're talking about, why you want to talk about it, and what you're hoping to achieve. And they vary in different lengths, and it's purely academic, but you've got to write something to get on this course. But what I noticed is the procedure is that everybody else, for whatever reason, has made me do this before they took the money off me, so that they can give me the heave ho if they say no before I part with money. Whereas this particular institution that I'm with now didn't do that. And it may just be a fluke, but the point is they didn't do it beforehand. So it might be their own procedures. That's a mistake. And obviously I'm on the receiving end of it. So I'm probably the one that makes it change for next term. They may change their process as a result of this. However, the current position is I've applied for 3 PhDs. There really isn't many PhD courses that have education experts. I don't know why they need an education expert, but there isn't many that have them. So basically, I've applied for these 3. I've had a knockback from one of them that said that they don't have the staff to be able to accommodate this particular thing, which I find is a nonsense explanation. But they've said no. I'm still waiting back for the other two, and I'm waiting. I've chased them. I've not heard from either of them yet. So I'm going to chase them again. So the current position is I don't have the offers that I'm waiting for, hoping to get. But I also haven't been kicked off, which I don't know. It is what it is. So I'm still waiting for movement on this, and I don't know what's going to happen yet. But even if I get 3 knockbacks, I'm still going to be doing the work the way I said I was going to do it. I'm not going to back down and do what they want me to do. So for everybody that donated to my own GoFundMe, I'm still going to stand by with what I said originally, which is what I'm going to do, something to do with Flat Earth, which is what I'm doing. It's already written. It's pretty much ready to go. I'm just waiting for them to either kick me off or just allow me to submit it. But then they're not prepared to help me with regards to support because they, quote, don't have any members of staff. The difference is they didn't tell me that before I applied for the course and they took the money. They did that afterwards. That's going to be a problem. So I'm not sure that they're going to kick me off. There hasn't been a resolution at the moment. I'm still waiting to see what happens. I suspect what will happen is that they'll just let me submit it without any support whatsoever, and I'll run the risk myself. So obviously I don't get a second bite of the cherry with regards to a supervisor that checks it. I don't have any previous dissertations that I can check to make sure that mine's consistent with theirs. Basically, it's one hit. And if I don't hit a home run, then it's probably going to be a no ball. And that's probably what's going to happen because I don't know that I can get this right first time, enough to pass it. I think I will, but I can't guarantee that I will. So I'm kind of relying on my skills, expertise, and experience in academia, referencing and writing content. I'm hoping that that'll be enough to get me through first time. If it's not, then I'll fail. If it's enough, then I might scrape through with a pass. I don't think I'm going to get a top mark on it, given the topic of the content in question. I think they're going to just about scrape me through even if I write an ace paper. But overall, the current position is I have had a knockback from one university that said we don't have staff for it. I'm still waiting for 2 of them back. I have chased it once. I am going to chase it again tomorrow because I'm sick of waiting. But it's a fine line between chasing something that you need to be patient for and bugging them. And I have already chased it once for both of them. So they're obviously considering it. But the current position is I'm still waiting for these conditional offers. I haven't been kicked off just yet. It may still happen. I don't think it will, but I don't think I'll get the support that they're supposed to give me contractually because they haven't got the staff to do it. I don't really accept it, but I'm not kicked off at the moment. And I don't know. It's still up in limbo at the moment. So that is the current position. So shout outs to GoFundMe because I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for GoFundMe.
Yeah, shout out to Chris Berry, who's just hit the GoFundMe campaign. Thank you very much indeed for your support. Again, that little bit closer to getting to Ranty's total for the Mavic Pro. So I think we're at $713. No, pounds, sorry. UK pounds. 713. So roughly, I think about $800 is about £1,000. £800 is about $1,000 there or thereabouts. So hopefully we can get you to $1,000 or £800 before the end of the stream, Ranty. That would be a really, past the halfway mark would be absolutely awesome.
That would be ace, yeah. I mean, I don't expect to get the full amount in one stream. You know, I mean, it would be nice if people just, as and when, if they want to help contribute, that would be great. Obviously, the sooner the better. The sooner the better. Wait, hold on, wait a minute. The sooner the better, obviously, because we've got some good weather that's just started to come, and I could make use of it, obviously, with the summertime. But as and when, when it comes, it gets here. It gets here.
Yeah, but Ranty, don't forget, good weather doesn't mean good visibility.
Well, I've
found that out halfway though. So you are official. It's just under, but halfway basically, as near as damn it halfway. So woo! Massive thanks to all of you in the audience, all the people who've supported.
Yes, amazing.
You guys are awesome.
So all I'm bothered about is that at the end of the day, regardless of the money, I think what this does is it basically pisses off the ball as something rotten, which is always a good thing. Yeah. And what it also shows is that there is actually some element of community here. There are people in the community that say, "Oh, there's not a community; it's just a cult. Everybody's part of a group, and I'm not part of it." Yeah, it is. It really is divided. The community itself, there seems to be like 3 or 4, maybe 5 different areas that you kind of ascribe to. The reality is, we all help each other with a little bit of support periodically. Some people message me privately and never respond in my chat. Some people, somebody donated to me recently. I don't have a monetized channel. I have a very discreet link that's at the bottom of my streams, and it says if you want to donate and help, then here's how to do it. I don't publish it because basically I don't want to push it, because me personally I don't want to do it, although it is there. And basically this guy did it, and his message was the most important thing. His message was, let me get it right. His message was basically, ignore the haters, you're doing good, or something similar to that. And I was like, oh my God. So, it wasn't even the money. It was just a message. And I was like, that's so nice. Because I get so much shit from so many people, and I don't get enough support from FE. It's not that it bugs me. It's just that I realize that a lot of FE do watch my work, but a lot of FE also don't comment on it. And it makes me think that, no, it's only the ball of trolls that are hating all my work. And it's like, do you know what? It'd be nice to have a little bit of support. And then when I get somebody donating a bit of cash and it says, well done, or you're doing a good job, honestly, that really motivates you. And it's like, yes. So I felt really good for a couple of days because I got someone that donated a little bit of cash, and I was like, yay.
Just adding to that, excellent segue, because there's people on the GoFundMe campaign that have actually left comments. So, but before I do, I'm going to say, obviously everyone on the panel right now supporting Ranty, giving up their time. So big shout out to Arin, Jeranism, Quantum Eraser, yourself, obviously Sleeping Warrior, Adam Meakin. Big shout out to me and all these people who I'm going to read their comments. So Bruce Lacey says, can't wait to see the observations. I know you will come through something good. Colin Turner says, I donated. This is about truth seeking, and I desire to overturn one of history's greatest injustices. And that was Colin Turner, big contributor. So thank you very much for the kind words. And I totally agree with your sentiment. Paul Keeling, worthy cause. You produce fantastic content. I'll shout out to you, Ranty, obviously. Sharag Patel says, the mind of God. Derek Watson, Ranty is ace. Totally agree. Jaron Campanella says the same. Ranty is ace. Totally agree. Ari A, good job, loser.
No, get a job.
Deliberately, don't correct it.
Oh dear me.
And then you get a comment from me. No more wonky horizons. Yay, donate now. You know it makes sense.
As we're looking at a wonky horizon.
I've got to be honest. Hey, Ranty, did you see my comment in your last video when you did the ferry crossing over the horizon and getting that distortion layer underneath?
I didn't know. Did you
say you saw my secondary comments? My first comment was, A tripod? Oh my god! And chocolate and Shandy was laughing. Anyway, carry on, Nathan.
Sean W. Thornhill. I want to help. Keep up the good work, guys. David Trevat. Love what you do. Keep fighting the good fight. Nice sentiment. Jerry Merseal. It's flat. Miguel says, go get them, mate. Brian Chadwick. Ranty, I don't know how you find the time. Keep up the great work.
Yeah, listen, in case anybody's watching this stuff and they don't understand exactly what the, if a lot of people come from Gerans and this is the first time they've just fallen on the stream, all this stuff here that I'm showing you is basically just data. And what will happen is I'll take segments from this video, for instance, right there, for instance, that image of that post, there's a little spire on this hill. And then obviously there's more land that goes further on to the left, and there's adjoining land in this location here. So I'll take this particular video, and because I filmed from the exact same spot in different, so I'll know exactly where I'm filming. If I'm on the ledge, I'll know exactly where I am on the ledge, and I'll be able to compare it against days when we don't have this inferior mirage and this blocking going on. And what I'll do then is I'll do a presentation on perhaps Nathan's, more likely Nathan's, and I'll do a concise presentation of maybe 15 minutes long. And I'll be showing this footage here next to footage where we see it completely flat on a different day. And also, for instance, that post that's just here in the foreground, that post that's just there, we can triangulate it. It's 4 miles away. This building in the background is 18.3. So we've got a relative position for both at all times. So we can check if there's any looming going on. So this post in the foreground, if it stays exactly the same in relation to the buildings behind, we know there's no looming going on. So the only effect that's happening then is in the lower portion, this blocked area, this distorted area. And through this repeated observations and analysis, we've got to the conclusion that on days when it's good weather, we can just see far. We've got good visibility. We can see the town that's in front of these buildings down here. We can see the estuary. We can see the sand dunes. We can see all of it, basically. And yet, when we've got this inferior mirage, we have massive blocking. And this was one of the observations that helped break through the idea that the inferior mirage was where the curvature of the Earth was, because it's absolutely impossible from this height, from this location. I'll even turn around. I'll show you exactly where I am. Here we go. Show you exactly where I am. Anchors home, same spot. BLO 97. Boom. And yeah, we can just destroy the globe from these repeated experiments. Well, tests, repeated tests, repeated observations, spending hours going over them, comparing them with other stuff, and then we come to the conclusions, don't we, guys?
Indeed. And that Julio Pabon contributor made it nice and concise. I stand on a flat earth. Nice comment. Nicely rounded out. Synchronicity is everything. Anthony Riley. I think it's the bogus one. Maybe bogus, maybe not bogus. We will never know. This is an early Christmas present. Shandy Chadwick. So we've got two Chadwicks, Brian and Shandy. So I assume they're related, as the other one signed off Shandy Flat Earth. And they're two separate people for sure. So sooner the better, says Shandy Chadwick. Thank you very much. David Weiss is the last commenter, who says, in his very wise words, the Earth is not a globe, and everyone needs to know. Shout out to David Weiss. Thanks for all your comments on the GoFundMe campaign. Hopefully that inspires somebody else. We've got somebody else. Hooray! Charles Holgate. Thank you very much for hitting the GoFundMe campaign, which sets the total at £718. Whoa! Yay!
Well, I'm gonna round it up in 20 minutes, guys. So thank you very much again, everybody that has actually donated. I just want to say I'm really, really over the moon with it.
If you're going to round out in 20 minutes, Ranty, I was about to do this, but can you do it instead? So it's at least come from your lips at least once. Can you go to the GoFundMe campaign and just run through all the donators and just shout them out by name?
Yeah, of course, can. Yeah.
Just so you're doing it.
I will do. Yeah, of course I will. So yeah, so guys, yeah, you know, this is all just data. It's literally data that I put out. I'll collect all this data. I'll then present it on Nathan's. I'll maybe go on a few different streams and present it there, and then these guys will see this, they'll understand it, and then other people will take this debate to the Globers, so they'll be able to refer back to this body of work. And say, hey, you know, when you said that the curvature of the Earth started where the inferior mirage is that still your position right now? And they're like, no, we don't believe that. Well, you did 2 years ago.
It's just a blessing to be able to see some of this stuff that I would never be able to see otherwise. So, you know, that's why they say support what you like or it goes away. That's very true. And what Ranty does is goes out and does these observations that we can all learn from. It's a lot like David from Wide Awake, right? Who goes out and does these observations that I can then go look at. It saves me time and effort. I mean, the beach for me is 2.5 hours away now. So to go make these kind of observations that Ranty does would take me all day, 5 hours of travel time and then that actual observation time. So same with David from Wide Awake and channels like Good Times for All and Travis and Life is Short and all these guys who are doing things that takes them time and effort, but it saves me that time, and it's still great observations. I'm not able to go to where you're at and make these observations, so I appreciate it a lot.
No, thank you very much. Something else we've also looked into recently, I don't know if you've been aware, is the issue with the swell and the waves and the tides,
right,
and the obstruction that they actually cause. What we found is that your feet, when they're next to the water's edge, isn't sea level, because those waves that are splashing up right there, so let me see if I can get a wave or two. So these waves, that wave here, that wave is higher than where your feet are at the water's edge. That wave there, and that's not even including the swell. So because these are white capping, that's saying that the wind was probably around about 22 kilometers an hour on this day, which meant there was 4 foot waves, 2 foot amplitude. So if your feet are on the shoreline and you're looking out across this wave, the amplitude of this wave is 2 feet higher than your feet are at the shoreline.
Do you ever look at what the swell, averages when you're looking across, like at Barrow and Furnace?
It's relatively shallow here. It's always, it seems, at least under about a meter. So anywhere from
under 3 feet.
Sorry, yeah, under 3 feet. So that would be the swell. So you've always got to take half of that for the amplitude. So if let's say there was a 1/2 meter swell, so that's 1.5 foot of swell, 8 inches or 10 inches of that would be above your feet at the shoreline. So quite often when I've gone down to like an inch or 2 inches, I've not been able to see the buildings. It's only been periodically, that I've been able to see them, can't see them, see them, can't see them. And that's to do with the swell, because the swell waves are like 30 seconds long, and then you've got the waves that are on top. So all these wind-driven waves are additional height to the swell. So if you've got, say, a 2 foot swell, so you've got 1 foot of amplitude, and then you've got the waves, the wind-driven waves on top, which are probably, let's say the wind waves are 4 feet. So you've got 2 feet of amplitude there as well to add on. So in total, your feet at the shoreline are actually 3 feet lower than the actual sea level. So nobody's taking this into account when they're doing observations, because they're always saying, oh, well, what was your height above sea level? Well, and you always give it next to the water's edge, but that isn't the case. That is never the case.
And in Monterey, at the Monterey Bay, when I go over there, the swell is like 7 to 12 feet. So I don't know if it's just because it's a bay or why that's so much higher, but it's never taken into account. 7
to 12 feet is massive for swell, because the amplitude of that will be between 3.5 feet and 6. So it doesn't. So if you're standing holding it at your eyeball at the camera right at the water's edge, on most days you're literally going to be at sea level.
Right, especially with some, and then you add on top of that the waves.
Yeah, and then you got to have the waves on top, and that's called the sea state. So the sea state always has to be taken into account when doing observations. It's something I've started looking into recently, and nobody is talking about it. literally nobody is or has even thought about it, I don't think. But you can never say when your feet are at the shoreline anymore that you're at sea level, because the nature of the water, the nature of the sea, the ocean, the swell, all that stuff, just the nature of water and the environment we live in means that the water will be higher.
Ranty, I just want to shout out a couple of your super chatters just so they don't go unmentioned. So Rob Kiln, thank you so much for smashing the super chat. And also a big shout out to James Richard, who also smashed the super chat. If you guys can, obviously, I'm sure Ranty's very grateful of the super chats. As ever, any support is going to be gratefully received. However, in this instance, the point is to contribute to the GoFundMe. So if you're in the chat and you want to contribute, I'll put a link right now in the chat. There's also one in the info box. But we're trying to raise money, unless it's not obvious, for a Mavic Pro drone for Ranty to use in the future. So far, we're at £718 raised, thanks to everybody who contributed on both the Super Chat and indeed on the GoFundMe campaign itself. If you can't afford to contribute at all, then please go and be amongst the 12 people who so far have shared it via the GoFundMe campaign. It helps get more promotion from GoFundMe themselves. If the campaign trends, please share it. That helps obviously expose it to more people, and in turn will inevitably end up in getting closer to the campaign total. So please share it if you can't afford to contribute. But if you can, please go and smash the actual GoFundMe link. Hopefully Ranty will shout out all the contributors thus far before the end of the show. I think we're rounding out about 20 minutes. But yeah, another big thank you to all who've contributed, and another shout out to James for the $20 super chat. Thank you very much, James Richard.
Well, not to mention too, the GoFundMe, you're able to put in your own tip. So if you want to send $15 or 15 pounds, at least you just can put a $0 tip, and that full amount goes to Ranty. Hopefully people know when you do super chats, which are great and super appreciated, and it's easier for some people. I understand that, but super chats, 30% of that goes to Google right off the bat. So, a $10 super chat is $7 for Ranty and $3 for the good old guys at Google.
But yeah, most importantly, I should have mentioned that the whole show. Well said, Jaron. So hopefully people who haven't done it already, when it comes to the tip, make sure you put other amount, set it to 0. You don't need to tip GoFundMe for this campaign. Set the tip to 0.
Fine, I'm sure.
Ranty, I've got a joke when you finish sharing that video.
Yeah, I just want to share this because this is the most recent. I went down to the beach a few days ago now, and I did a live stream from there. And I filmed this sea truck boat
with a tripod. With a tripod,
and I kept it at the same, the same settings were in play the entire time, and that was so that we could just film this boat as we saw it. What's really evident right now is this massive inferior mirage that you can see. This blue line is where this inferior mirage. You can see where the boat's starting to nip back on itself.
Clearly, the curvature of the Earth, Ranty. Come on.
Well, I think we've demonstrated that isn't the case with the bunch. I mean, I can do that right now. I can just show you with this image right now. Debunks the inferior mirage as being curvature of the Earth, because we have 2 inferior mirages on 2 different boats, and they're higher up. So you can't have 2 curvature of the Earth.
It's called the double looming, super double looming.
Super, and sometimes triple. Let's be honest. Sometimes you see 3 boats, 4 boats, and buildings behind that are higher up. These lines are all over the place, and it's showing that it's an atmospheric angle as opposed to. In fact, you can actually with this, you can actually probably work out the angle with buildings in the distance at a known distance and boats in the foreground. You should be able to work out the angle that's in play. But anyway, the inferior mirage isn't where the curvature of the Earth starts. That's nonsense. So going back to this footage, where we've got this inferior mirage, we know it's atmospheric blockage. It's not the water that's blocking it. It's just an atmospheric effect. But I want you to pay attention to what the boat looks like in this state. So there's the boat as it's a little earlier on in the video. And when we're going to play it through in a minute, and just tell me, you've all seen the image where the scientist pushes this boat over a pretendy curve, and it goes over the curve like an old scientist guy. Well, does this look anything like that?
No.
Sure.
I mean,
what do you think? What do you think the difference in distances between the so-called water line and that boat?
What's the difference? Yes, it's all to do with perspective, and
Right.
You don't appreciate how far this boat is away right now. I mean, already it's over 8 miles away. You know, it's just going further, and it's going further away. You know, it's in a different direction to where I'm going. It's going further and further away. And all that's happening is that the boat is reducing its angular size. And as a function of that, it's reducing its height. And as it reduces its height, it's getting closer to that inferior mirage band. And it's just blending into it and disappearing and merging into it. And eventually it gets lost in that. And that's what happens to everything.
Yeah, you know, Travis from Life is Short did that video with me where he describes in detail the fact that when you're looking out and seeing 3 miles, how you're only seeing that first 1.5 miles of water or so, and then how quickly that back end of the water, the last 1.5 miles, just compounds and compresses, and basically you don't see any of that.
That's right.
So everything that you're seeing is the first mile or so of water in front of you, and then it reduces quickly after that. So who knows how far that boat is from that water line. So if somebody wants to say, oh, that's because it's going over the curve, they just are wonky.
Well, this is why, I mean, obviously on this day, we've got swell, we've got waves. You know, if I pause it at some point, I'll just get rid of that. If I pause it at some point, we're going to have a wave that probably, there we go, a wave top to tip there, top to bottom. And that's probably, let's say 3 feet, but look at it in relation to the boat. It's around about a fifth of the boat. So, you know, if you were to scale it up, you're only, you know, you'd say that the boat was 15 foot high. Well, we know that's ridiculous. The boat's about 100 foot high. So, you know, it's just demonstrating the fact that the boat's getting smaller just by the fact of its angular size over distance. And perspective is just what's happening here. We've got the inferior mirage that's happening here. We've got these waves that are still spraying up, and eventually we just lose the boat. It just goes. It never goes over the curvature of the Earth.
Right, you had another contributor. So, is it K Hutton? And if I'm butchering your name, I'm really sorry. So, KHATUN 777. Thank you very much for smashing Ranty's GoFundMe campaign. That little bit closer to the Maverick Pro.
Are we halfway? Are we halfway?
We're over halfway. Happy days.
Oh, wow. Thank you.
£728 raised so far by all you good people watching right now. So thank you very much indeed to all of you who have supported the GoFundMe campaign. Thanks also to Ninja Man. Did get your shout out for your super chat in Ranty's GoFundMe /super chat it's turned into. But if you can, much more preferable to if you can actually go fund me rather than smash the super chat in this instance. I'm sure any support's all greatly received by Ranty. Nevertheless, in this instance, the whole show is about raising this GoFundMe campaign up to its target of £1,429. So far at £728, which is well over halfway. So thank you so much to all of you. Pat yourselves on the back, especially Kay Hutton or KHATUN 777 for being the most recent contributor. Thank you very much indeed.
Is it time for a joke?
Go on.
Let's hear it.
Okay, this is not from me, right? So you'll have to just bear with me while I while I present it. Nathan, do you remember a guy called Mark Doxey?
Yeah, he's released a joke about you.
Yeah, that's the joke, right? I'm gonna play the little clip. It's only 12 seconds. He's not monetized. You won't get a copyright strike. But he's fluffed the joke, right? It's supposed to be a joke, but he's fluffed it. So I'm gonna play it anyway. Let me just make sure I've got the sound going through. No, right, sound's going through right now. So listen to this, right? For a really good opportunity to fluff a joke. Right, here we go.
Sleeping warrior goes into a bar with a pig under his arm. Where did you get that from? Pig said, I want to know.
Quiet.
Too quiet.
Really?
Yeah.
Let me turn it back up.
Suspiciously quiet. Too quiet.
Let me try it again.
Warrior goes into a bar with a pig under his arm.
Still too low.
It sounds like you're playing it around the corner through a wall.
It's refracted.
You'll have to paraphrase the joke because that's going to lose all mystique if you don't just say.
Warrior goes into a bar with a pick under his arm.
Right, let me try it again. This should work.
Sleeping warrior.
No.
No,
Super lame. It still doesn't work.
he said Sleeping Warrior goes into a bar with a pig under his arm, and the bartender says to him, "Where did you get that from?" He's meant to say, "Where did you get the pig from?" And the answer is, the pig says, "I won him in a raffle." But he didn't say, "Where did you get the pig from?" He just said, "Where did you get that from?" So it
Right.
was the answer. But he messed the gag up. Come on, Mark. This is rubbish.
Good stuff, Mark.
Yeah. Shout out to Mark Doxy.
Was that the pig?
Don't retract the shout out from Mark's face.
Was that the pig I heard?
He's become a hater because I said that Nora was disinfo, and somehow he thinks that I said that he was disinfo because I said Nora was, and I was like, "How did you get that?" I said that you were disinfo. He said, "Well, you said that me, Bob, and Arwin agreed with her." And I'm like, "Yeah, that doesn't mean you're the disinfo. It means that Nora pushes it. You just victims of it. It's okay. You're not pushing it. You're not disinfo. Yeah, but I am. Like, you're not the victim here. Stop claiming victim status." So shout out to Mark Doxy.
There's only one victim, and that's Brenda.
Yeah, massive victim. Shout out to Brenda. Accuse somebody of lying, right, or accuse somebody of something, and then basically gets called on it. She hasn't got the evidence she said she was, and then basically pulls the victim card. Shout out to Brenda.
That was great. Well, he left the link there. He gave me the link, so I deleted it. I deleted all the documents because somebody gave me the link.
That's my reason.
What a disgusting monster.
You left your car running, so I stole it. You left it there with the keys in it. Isn't that giving me permission to take your car?
Yeah, but you know what the worst thing is, though, Jared? The reason why she did it was because she says, quote, because they were just bats. And I'm like, so that's the reason? Really? Come on, Brenda. It wasn't your link. You weren't meant to have it. You knew you shouldn't have been there. You're in there on implied, like you've got to behave like an adult. You're not meant to delete all the stuff. That's not the point of it. Come on. And she feels totally justified. She has no remorse whatsoever. That's why she's on my block.
She said it's a public link.
It's not the point, Brenda. Behave. That's not what you're meant to do in somebody else's work. It was Crow 777's work, and I can't remember what it was to do with now, but it was 700 files or something. And she thinks that's okay because it was bats.
Yeah, I don't think anybody should be doing that to anybody's work. You know,
No.
people have put so much effort into actually producing, not only just producing it, but filming it, making it, doing whatever, and uploading it as files for people to actually use. For somebody to just go in and just get rid of it. I mean, it's like, oh.
It's not even the point that he's probably got it backed up somewhere, right? I've not spoken to Crow. I've not got any dialogue with Crow. But if I found something from, say, Fight the Flat Earth, right, and I knew I wasn't meant to be in there, I wouldn't delete it. I'd probably leave in something that he knew that I'd been there. You know, like a trail of seeds or something. So he knew I'd been there, so that he knew that I'd seen it, but didn't do anything. Why would anybody sabotage somebody else's work just because she thought they were bats? It's ridiculous. She's pond scum, that girl, woman, thing, whatever.
That's a big difference. If we got access to a Red's Rhetoric account, I would never agree. I'm going to delete this channel. But you can bet your ass that if somebody got access to my channel, it would be gone tomorrow.
Oh, absolutely.
What Tim said. Tim got his channel removed, right? Tim's the biggest troll on Flat Earth, right? We all know that. If you don't know that, then you've not been in it long enough. Tim is the Antichrist of us. However, no one on our side has ever tried to remove his account because no one really cares. However, for whatever reason, Fight the Flat Earth and all of his cronies got his channel red flagged and got his channel removed according to the folklore story. May not be true, but that's what the story is. Tim has never been targeted by anybody on Flat Earth, even though he's the biggest person against Flat Earth that you can come across. And it was done by his own people. What does that tell you?
What happened?
Come on now. Tim's removed by Fight the Flat Earth and his cronies by team against him because he criticised Fight the Flat Earth and Plan a Walk for doing that. You know that letter from the US state, whatever it was, the blag thing. I can't. It doesn't matter what it was. There was some letter that went out apparently that was organised and orchestrated. Right, Soundly did it around about Christmas, and I'd seen it at Christmas, and I thought, yeah, that smells like a rat. I ignored it. Most people ignored it. But then Fight the Flat Earth regurgitated it with Plan a Walk. And to be honest, it's the second time Jeren jumped on it and was like, look, this is not right. Whatever's going on here, right? This is silly. And it's silly. But for whatever reason, Plan a Walk and Fight the Flat Earth were behind this thing with MC Toon, where they decided to push this so-called joke. But it can't be a joke, because you wouldn't do something that makes you look like an absolute dick. And that is what they did. They look like. So they call it a joke. We're all sat there thinking, yeah, you're just dicks, you lot. And they're calling it a joke to their side. So their side think that it's a joke. Our side think you guys are playing funny buggers. But ultimately, the bottom line was this. I've lost my trail of thought now. What was it? Can't remember what the point was now, but Plan a Walk got involved in this thing with MC Toon and Fight the Flat Earth, and it was supposed to be.
On it, and then I made a video about it. But yeah, the reason I made the video is it wasn't I was proclaiming it to be real. I was proclaiming it as whether it's real or whether it's fake. It shows that these guys are dirtbags.
Yeah,
which I'll still stand behind. That's why that video stood up. And I think if what's his name Tim got his channel removed for that, they tried to do the same thing to me multiple times. I told Nathan too. They tried to privacy. I get privacy complaints every other day now on one of my videos. It's just, I guess, their new way of trolling. Just go to a video, click privacy complaint, come up with some time. And they even tried to get me to think it was Nathan one time by going to the video I made about Nathan and Wiggles. And right when Nathan's picture comes up, they did a privacy complaint trying to get me to pull that video down. So again, that's what I'm saying, is that if I ever somehow left my sign in somehow to YouTube, the next day my channel would be gone, because that's the first thing that the Globe Earthers would do. Whereas if they left their channel for me and I found it, I'd probably message them and say, hey, did you know that this is public? You left your username and password on here. The last thing you do is go delete their channel. What a dirtbag move that would be.
That was my point. Tim's got his channel removed, right? He must have been on 2 strikes anyway for whatever nefarious reason. Who cares what? But we all know that Tim's a troll, right? If on the face of it, Tim comes across as a normal kind of guy. We all know that he's not, right? But we tolerate him. But Tim's channel got removed because of Ball Earthers for whatever reason, right? Who cares, right? His channel
allegedly.
No, it was. Tim said that it was down to Fight the Flat Earth and Plan a Walk, basically teaming up against him and red flagging him. That was what he said.
I don't know that.
What Tim said, I've heard Tim tell me probably 20 times, maybe even more than that, that he was done with Flat Earth. I'm done with Flat Earth. You'll never see me again. I'm leaving. It's stupid. You guys are full of it. And then he just continues on. So after 15 times, I just laugh when he tells me that. Like, yeah, sure, you're gone. Yeah, I'm sure you're really going to leave. Yeah.
Yeah, he's like what's his name? What was the president? It was Thingy, wasn't it? It was Tony Blair that wouldn't leave cabinet office because he didn't want to tell people when he was leaving, and Gordon Brown was due to take over. So Tony Blair wouldn't let anybody know when he was leaving. Gordon Brown was waiting for him to go, and Tony Blair wouldn't leave. So it's like Tim, he just doesn't want to leave. You can't leave Flat Earth. If it strikes a chord with you, you're stuck. And I admit I'm stuck with it. I want to know what the situation is. But the thing is, most people are genuine people, right? Most Ball Earthers, most Flat Earthers are genuine people. There's only a small section of people on either side that you think, but there's definitely more people on the ball because there's more of them. I mean, look at why is it that Fight the Flat Earth within his own community is hated? It's like people on the ball side. I mean, I was chatting to someone today, I won't say who, but he's on the ball side. He hates everything about Flat Earth. He likes me because of different reasons, but the point is he hates me publicly. Privately, we chat normally, and he's a normal kind of guy, but publicly he's an asshole. And he hates Fight the Flat Earth because he realizes this is such a bad advert for ballers. But for some reason, Fight the Flat Earth wearing all these gay t-shirts that are too skinny. And it's like, what's going on here? Surely someone's paying him to do this, because you wouldn't do this if you were a normal Joe Blow. I mean, Jeren, if I wore a Jeranism t-shirt, what would you think?
I think that's pretty weird. But on the other side, I think that any kind of promotion is good. It's just funny that he wears one that's picked out in the junior section.
Yeah, you wouldn't do it though, would you? If you were a normal person, you wouldn't wear t-shirts of Sean Hufford or Red's Rhetoric or Fight the Flat Earth. You wouldn't do that. You would publicly support them, right? But you wouldn't wear the swastika on your shirt because it's just madness. Well, I don't get that. Why would you do that, even if you're on the same side, unless you were desperate for attention and you were suffering from depression or something? I don't know what something's not right with Fight the Flat Earth. I mean, get this right. He's got this thing against me with George Musa. And he loves it that much that he has to wait till the 20th of May to be able to release it. I mean, why would you do that? If you had something against me that you thought was going to win, why wait for a month? Do you know what? Even when he releases it, I'm in two minds whether to just wait for it for a month and just let a month just out of rebellion. Because it's like, by that time, a month's gone. People don't care about it anymore. Why would you wait? Is it possible that you've not got the creative content license to do your own stuff? Or is it that you're being orchestrated by somebody with a hand up your ass that's telling you what to do? Because he's not a normal kind of guy. He's not a normal baller.
I just want to do another quick shout out to somebody who's contributed to the GoFundMe. So a massive shout out to Life is Short for hitting the GoFundMe link. The total's now up to £753. Thank you very much to everybody. All of you are ace, especially Life is Short, who just hit the GoFundMe link. So attached to his shout out in the public chat, there is also a link if you want to go and hit Ranty's GoFundMe campaign, the Mavic Pro drone. Also, another shout out to Colin Turner for hitting the super chat on Ranty's behalf. Thank you very much indeed. Anybody else? Oh, yes. Rob McKenzie also smashed the super chat. Thank you very much to you. Your support is greatly appreciated. And yeah.
Rob McKenzie, I've seen his name loads of times on GoFundMe's on different people's. I'm sure he's an unsung hero because I've seen him on numerous GoFundMe's. He was on mine. He was on Ranty's. Don't know who you are. I'll never see you in chat. If you are in chat, I don't realize your alias. Shout out to Rob McKenzie.
And a shameless self-promotion for myself and Travis. Check out the video, Angular Resolution, Perspective, and Refraction with Life is Short. Great video, in my unbiased opinion.
It was a very good video. Life is Short is ace, by the way.
I was going to say people might not get the connection. So Life is Short is Travis that did that show with Joan. Excellent, excellent guy.
That's not Travis as in Travis, is it?
Different Travis.
Travis, Life is Short is also Travis.
Right, so there is a distinction between Travis and Life is Short because they're not the same Travis.
Well,
They're both named Travis.
To be fair, shout out to Travis because he's just got a PC that updated his current PC, and he's still working on how things work. And I've not seen him do anything live for a couple of days, maybe a week. So I'm not sure what's with Travis, but shout out to Travis as in what's the rest of his name? Travis what?
You've confused me.
I think it's just Travis.
you mean Plain Truth?
Yeah, that's the one, the Plain Truth.
That's not who we're talking about.
No, I know. There's two different Travises and it's confusing. It's like too many different Nathans. There's loads of them.
Way too many. And
Like
too many.
Ranty.
Not enough Rantys and too many Davids and Nathans.
Yeah, at least Jeran's a unique name. I've never come across a Jeran before.
Yeah, me
Bob
neither.
Jaren. What are you talking about?
Oh, different spelling.
Yeah, that's Jeran.
Same pronunciation.
Do they say Duran?
No, I don't know. My mom probably spelled it wrong because one time somebody, when I was working at CVS, they came in and saw my name tag and they said, "Oh, Duran, I really like your name." I said, "No, it's Jaren." And it goes, "Oh, okay. Well, where'd your mom get it?" I said, "Well, she read it in a book." She said, "Well, how does she know how to pronounce it?" And then I had to call my mom immediately. Like, did you mispronounce my name? Because it is probably more Jaren, but no, Bob's son is Jaren, Jaren.
Yeah,
which I think is phonetically more correct than mine. But
what does Jeran know? It must have a meaning to it.
I don't think so. No, she just read it in a book. There was a guy named Michael Jaren in some book. But again, she doesn't know how it's pronounced because it was in a book. So it's just the way it came across in her head as she read the book. But the guy's name is Michael Jaren, so she just switched it on me and Jaren Michael.
I think Anthony was asking what Jeranism is.
No, I've got a story about that. I remember watching some journalist that did a documentary of some kind with Jaren. It was a while ago. And he basically ripped off Jaren horribly. And he said he described Jaren as a religion of Jeranism. I was like, if I was Jaren, I would be so pissed off that my name was being called a religion.
Well, I mean, to be honest, where it first started from was when I got just fed up with religion and all the lies that you're told in every direction. And so I said, okay, well, I'm going to have my own religion, but it meant like a personal one, Jeranism. So yours would be Tonyism, Nathanism. It just means you pick things out for yourself. you don't adhere to what other people say, and that's kind of my position. So that's why I like to watch different people's opinions and hear both sides of the story, because I'm not married to any belief. I may be a flat earther today, I may be a fan of relative density today, but I'm open to anybody changing my mind at any time, because once you become connected to that belief system, you get too attached to it. It's what's happened to us all as Globers. That's why it was so hard to get rid of that belief.
That documentary that Bob was defamed terribly with, in that he proved the rotation of the Earth, that the ballers jump on terribly, and it's like,
I love that movie.
Yeah. There was one line in it that resonates with me, and it was when he was asked the question, if it was proved to be a ball tomorrow, how would you feel? And his answer was, I'd be relieved. I'm absolutely in that camp, because I hate being on this side of the fence, right? But I realize that whatever side you're on, you've got to basically make your own mind up on whatever evidence you accept. And we've all got our own, evidenceometer. We all work out what we think's true based on what we think. And I totally resonate with Bob. I don't like being on this side of the fence. I wish I could be on their side. The problem is there's no evidence for it. It's basically rhetoric based on consensus. And I'm like, that is like the worst standard of evidence. But when you hear these people talking on Jose's chat, shout out to Jose, shout out Retracted. Jose's chat is full of the people that were killed, slayed, and hung, drawn, and quartered on Nathan's channel. And they're all in Jose's chat. And he's building his channel, and that's cool. But the reality is, all them people on his channel, shout out to Jose, they're all dead people that have been killed over here. So they can't come on Nathan's anymore, because what else is there left to kill once you've killed them 3 or 4 times over? Although Brenda does keep coming on for some reason. But Jose's channel is the only channel that accommodates them. Yeah,
it's the baller hospital.
They're in there getting medipacks.
Oh, that's the funniest thing I've heard.
Well, it's such an position to take. It's so easy to be a baller. I mean, I could make videos all day and just read from physics books and just parrot exactly what I was taught, and then I'm just going to be forever stuck in the belief that we were all taught, and it's a belief that I don't think has evidence. So, it's much more difficult to actually go against the mainstream, and you're going to get shit from everyone, and you're going to get told that you're an idiot and that you're a fool and that you're a moron. And either some people are just not okay with that. Some people can't handle that, and it's too much for them. So they go away, or they switch sides, or they cower away, or they just become someone who's not voicing their opinion anymore. And I refuse to let other people, because I did it my whole life, I let other people dictate my belief system. And I think the better position is just, no, if you want me to be to believe what you believe, then you need to provide the kind of evidence that's going to make me change my mind. And the thing that sucks is we were all taught at such an age that we didn't have any belief system to start with. So when they force the globe down your throat, when they force the spinning ball space monkey religion, when they force that on you, you have no choice. And so we all came out of 4th grade, 5th grade being staunch ballers. And that's just not fair, unless at the end of that, all the evidence points to there, and you're able to go and check the scientific method and say, oh, we see how they came up with all their things. But when you go find out that, how did they know the distance to the sun? Oh, well, some guy back 2,000 years ago, when there wasn't even equipment to do so, guessed that, oh, that light in the sky, Venus, is the same size as the Earth, and it's a sphere just like the Earth. Those are all, that's not science. That's just guesses. And just because you can build a mathematic premise around that doesn't mean I have to adopt that as my belief system.
Jaron, let me ask, if I was to blow a little bit of, not a lot, just a little bit of smoke up your ass, would you feel awkward?
Yes.
Okay, I want it then. No, I would. I want to give credit where it's due, right? One of your latest video, or maybe your next to latest video, you said something about scientific method, and now basically it's kind of being hijacked, and it's like, right, Jaron's now realized that science is being hijacked by pseudoscience. Now, it's the first time, you may have said it in the past, I might have missed it, but it's the first time I've heard you say that. What I want to acknowledge is the fact that it is the scientific method that prevails. That is the distinction between science over pseudoscience. And
right.
we now get the message is getting through to us lot on the flat earth side. And yeah, you can pin that against John if you want, and you can say that it's his own unique method, and it really isn't. You can just literally type in the words pseudoscience definition in Google, and then you will find out that it says, if you don't comply with scientific method, that's pseudoscience. that makes it not John's. So yeah, you got people like Gem Panda and the Rumpus and all those protagonists on their side, and they claim that it's John's own Quantum Eraser's own unique, individual, narrow interpretation of science. It's not. That is science. So John's being like the fall guy, and I don't agree with John on everything he says. I don't agree with Nathan on everything he says. I don't agree with Jaren. I don't agree with Bob. But the point is, if we can all agree with each other that A, we're not on a ball, and B, diversity is not a bad thing, it's a good thing, we're not in a cult, then overall we should be able to work this out between us. And scientific method is the thing that it draws the line in the sand. So if on one hand you've got ballers that hate it, and I love that. So if they hate it, that tells me that we're probably close to the mark. And on the other hand, we've got the flat earthers that say, yeah, but why am I not in the club? And I look at the people like Merle or Mark, and they say things like, yeah, but hang on. And listen, at the end of the day, we're all supposed to be on the same side. It's not a ball. And the thing that separates us all is that pseudoscience definition. It's not science if it's pseudoscience. If we can work that out between us, we're going to win. If we can't work it out and we fight with each other because there's a clash personal wise or whatever, we might not win. But at the end of the day, it's not a ball. Science can't prove it is a ball. We need to work out why it can't prove it. And it is it really is scientific method that describes the difference between pseudoscience and non-pseudoscience or real science. And we need to adopt it because it's true. That is our winning point, because science is being hijacked by pseudoscience.
It's a very good. Knock the needle.
Oh, somebody's all messing up.
Nathan, say that again.
I said, knock the needle off him. He keeps saying it over and over. He's a stuck record. I thought there's got to be an end to this. I completely agree with you and all, but bloody hell.
It's totally true. People are getting the message. We're realizing that this is the problem. And how many times has John said it and it's not gone in for whatever reason? And now Jaren's like he's commented on it on his channel, and it's like, Jaren's on it. And it's true. If it's not real science, it's pseudoscience, and we should push that against them because it's the thing that they claim that they're doing, but they're not. They're raping it. And it's like, hang on a minute. If it's not compliant with it, it's pseudoscience, but you're pushing it as though it's science, and it's not. I'm all right with that, me. Kill them with it. Stab them with it many times because they're liars.
Shout out to all the hospitals. All the hospitals, Ace.
You can see through my channel, it's just been, the whole thing is a progression. So, first I was a big proponent of saying scientism over and over again. Then I started saying science is a religion, and then realizing science itself isn't a religion, but science is a method. And then realizing that the people that support it support pseudoscience. And it's just kind of a progression. That's how you learn. That's what I think is best about what we all try and do is, if we listen and believe everyone that we hear, that's what got us here in the first place. So for me, I just listen to those that I think provide good quality arguments, and then I can make up my own mind. And it doesn't even need to be, oh, I agree with you. Oh, I'm on your side. Oh, I'm on that person's side. It doesn't matter, because all I'm trying to do is build a belief system or a knowledge system for myself. And so I appreciate everyone that gives their opinions, because it allows me to listen and weigh different options. And that's not the way it came across when, that's why they use the idea of peer review, right? These guys bounce things off each other in a system of, okay, well, we agree with you, and so we'll promote your stuff. And
a circle jerk, basically.
Right. Exactly. He's mowing the lawn.
Yeah.
Mowing the lawn with a turbo.
Right, I'm going to do some shout outs.
Did you already order the drone?
Not yet. No, not yet.
I thought I heard it outside. Wee.
Ranty, we need to
shout out contributors.
I'm about to right now. Okay, Bruce Lacey, thank you very much. Colin Turner, thank you very much. Paul Keeling, again, thank you very much. Chirag Patel, who is also one of my Patreons, thank you very much. Derek Watson, Jaren. I was going to shout, well, no, I won't shout out that person. That's just because they put get a job loser. Nathan Oakley. Oh, right. Sean Thornhill, Thank you very much. David Travat, Jerry Merciel, Miguel, Brian Chadwick, Julio Pabon, Tony Riley. Who's that? I don't know who that is. Shandy Chadwick, David Weiss, DITRH, Charles Holgate, and Life is Short. Well, thank you very, very, very much.
And in the last few minutes, you had one more. So Colin Turner, who already gave you £100, I believe, has contributed another 20 British pounds to your company. So that leaves the total at £773 as hopefully Ranty rounds out this mammoth.
Yeah, it's been a mammoth one, hasn't it? And we've smashed through halfway. That's absolutely amazing. And obviously the super chatters as well, because you know I don't even know how to bring all them up. How do you find out who's super chatting?
Your live dashboard, make sure you're not screen sharing, and they should be underneath all the info boxes and stuff.
There's a list in the analytics where you can just see all the super chat donations.
Are you on the live, whatever it's called? Page?
Yeah, I can go to that.
On the very bottom of that live page, and there's a little button that says "Open Super Chats" in a separate window or something.
Oh,
I always have it on my second monitor.
Wow, there's been loads. Okay. Del West Watson, thank you. Rebel Rob TV, UK Truth 2222, Defund NASA, Brandon, SX0, Julio Pabon again, Jadot, Lifting the Lid, Cleary, Rob Kiln, James Richard, Ninja Man, Robert McKenzie, and Colin Turner. Thank you very much. There's probably like £100 worth of super chats there.
And if you're watching this on the re-up, still time. You can still contribute. The link's still live. Go and smash that GoFundMe link.
Yeah, and guys, listen, thank you everybody that's joined the RantyAthon to help support me in this. Jared, thank you for turning up. Nathan, obviously. Tony, who else have we got in? Let's have a look. We got Arwin still in. We've got the Adam Meakin still in. We have had
Quantum
Eraser in. Yeah, he's left though. And yeah, I mean, guys, thank you very much for stopping by. It's helped promote this massively. And guys, when I get this drone, you guys are going to see some of the best footage, I tell you, and some of the best tests, some of the best uses of the drone anyway that I can possibly think of to actually just, you know, figure out things as best I can anyway.
I'll just say one thing. So I know Ranty's just about to round out, but if you can't afford to smash the GoFundMe link, please still go to the link and share it on Facebook and Twitter. It really helps. Well, people shared it. Thank you so much to everyone who shared it.
I can't afford to pay right now, so I've shared it. So if you haven't shared it and you haven't funded, come on, just share it on Facebook. That's what I've done. Ranty, do me a favor before you round out.
But you also said we're all going to get good gifts for Christmas.
Yeah, and he also said he was going to let me play with it.
I beg your pardon?
The drone.
Drone.
It's between you two.
So listen, Ranty, do me a favor before you round out. Just plug my next video. I've sent you a picture in chat. This is a frame from the video. Just do me a favor. Present the frame that I've just sent you in Skype chat.
Is it uploaded now?
No, it's still rendering. It's 90.3%. It's going to be up within the next, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes.
What?
In Skype, Ranty, I've sent you a picture.
Yes, you have. Oh, crikey, really?
Yeah. Just show that on screen. Come on.
Okay.
Stop laughing. This is serious. This is science, dude. Go on, get it on screen. Come on.
Okay.
Get your picks out for the lads.
Well, while Ranty's bringing that up to the screen and we're plugging stuff, I'm going to set a debate to start in the next 5 minutes, and I'll put the link in the chat.
Riley, that is okay, but with that hair together, that's just terrible.
Listen, I've got a white coat on. That's the only thing that matters, right?
No, but the hair makes it totally dispels the appearance of intellect. Seriously.
Come on, I've got a plaster on the corner of the.
I know. I said.
Yeah, but the hair is wrong.
What do you mean? The hair's wrong. I've got a plaster. I've got Jack Duckworth glasses on.
You got the wrong type of hair. You don't look convincingly nerdy.
Listen, I've got a proper white coat on. That makes me proper. So basically, the bottom line is in the next 10, 15 minutes, that video will be going live. If you want to know what that's all about and you want to know how it debunks gravity, make sure you share the video because, listen, share it because it's important that we know that what's going on here is not to do with these things called gravity. It's nonsense.
Where's even your pencil?
Okay, well, before you two get into a massive row about this, because I know you two love to get in a heated debate about gravity. Yeah, Sleeping Warrior, this is his video. Like I said, it'll be released in 10 to 15 minutes. Jaron, have you got anything coming up soon?
No, not off the top of my head. Just check out my channel as always, and go to zoomtruth.com and sign up for the Flat Earth Friend Finder. It's filling up. We've been talking about it for the last week or so.
Yeah, it's cool. I'm going to do it right now, actually.
Adam, if you're still there, IRM or anything else? Arwin, yourself, you've got your early bird, haven't you?
Yay, early bird show. That's right.
What time is that on?
2 p.m. Amsterdam time every day, and that is 1 p.m. at London time.
And Nathan?
And between 6 and 10 American time.
Not many people know who you are, Nathan. Perhaps you could tell them a bit about yourself.
So the second channel, Nathan Oakley, has got the uncut and after show, most recent show there is, new unseen footage. It starts in 4 minutes. So hopefully the timing will be epic, and as soon as this finishes, you can go check that out. Flat Earth Debate on my second channel, uncut and after show.
Which you guys are going to Amsterdam?
Mate, I was muted there. I just want to say, look, you've described a few bits and bobs. The reason I've put few quid in is because whilst ever you're trying to describe what you'll do now, I know what you've delivered for the Flat Earth community over the past couple of years has been way and above what any of us expected. And I've got a million ideas floating in my head, and I know it's not just so much coming up with the ideas. The thing about you, Ranty, mate, and the reason, like I say, I've stuck some money in is you're not just someone who goes, "Oh, I've got a good idea." You're somebody that's got a proven record of getting off their arse, going down there and collating data, as you put it earlier. And it's that accumulation of data that adds validity to everything you say. And come on, people, if you're out there, put your hand in your pocket, because what will come out of it will benefit us all.
If you have money in that pocket, that is.
No, well, whatever then. Give a bit of croissant crumb.
I'll take a croissant crumb.
Everybody has money to share the video.
Is there anybody else that needs to say anything before I wrap up?
Yeah.
Which one of you guys are going to be in Amsterdam?
I will.
Oh, yeah.
When is that? What's
Yeah,
that date?
September.
Oh, I can make that. I can make that. Hopefully with some drone footage.
Mm.
I would love to do a presentation, actually.
Talk to Didi or
you could bring your drone and give a live demonstration.
there you go.
Hey, I got a croissant. Will UK. he gave me a croissant crumb. Thank you very much. I love it. I love it. Right, I'm just going to check the GoFundMe.
I've just signed up to that, that zoomtruth.com, and there is nobody within 10 miles of me in Wigan. So if you're anywhere near Wigan and you're listening right now, just add yourself to that. So at least you can see me and I can see you, and we can chat.
Maybe there was some people close, but they moved away when they realized they were close.
You probably moved to Blackpool and ended up with Ranty instead.
or they preemptively put you on the blocked list.
Shut up, Alex.
Right, so I'm going to wrap up, and if everybody that's in the chat right now will click the link that Nathan, I'm sure, is about to spam in a minute, which will be to his debate. It's going live in less than 2 minutes, so I'm sure he's going to spam the link right now. And yeah, guys, if you want to just stay on, after I wrap up, and we'll have a quick chat offline. And thank you, everybody that's donated. Thank you, everybody, for stopping by. I've had a constant 100+ people watching. And yeah, I've got all my friends here, and yeah, thank you very much. Thank you very much. And I'll see you in the next one.
Say no to gravity, guys.
Peace.
Ooh.